Great Friday morning to you, everybody. Welcome back. It's your new midday hang. It's Annie and Elsten with you until 2 o'clock, 4 hours of live, local San Diego sports talk radio on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It's a Friday morning, April 26th. The Padres are home, and we're together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon, where the clouds and the sky are as gloomy as our thoughts, at least coming out of Colorado. Annie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Craig. Good morning, Braden. I'm good. I'm happy it's Friday. But yeah, that was a tough one yesterday.
That was a bad loss. We'll talk about it. We got a whole show lined up for you. Braden just spent 4 hours? Did you guys wind up going till 9 last night, Braden?
Yeah, it was 5 to 9.
Nice.
Okay, all right.
That's a good way to flush a loss. I totally forgot about the loss until this morning.
That's good, yeah.
Flushed it.
I heard you guys a couple, 3 times last night. Went to the gym, was listening to you cats, and then had to go pick up dinner for the fam. Was listening to you guys, and I heard you start the 4th hour, and I'm like, I don't know. Are they going to go?
Yeah, we went all the way to 9.
4 yard?
Went
Nice.
the distance.
All right.
Very nice.
So we got some NFL draft to talk about, certainly, as the show continues. Kind of get Braden's reflection, his report on the night, the shocking draft. I was listening live when Michael Penix was drafted by Atlanta, and all you guys lost your stuff. It was really entertaining.
Was freaking out.
Well, nobody was freaking out more than Adam Klug. I can tell you that. Oh my God, I just couldn't believe it.
I thought for sure what you thought, that there was a trade and it just hadn't been announced yet.
Right.
It was like, oh, this is really good. It's just like the NBA, though. They make the pick, and then like 3 picks later, you're like, actually, that was for Minnesota.
Yeah,
or
right.
Whatever. But no, it wasn't. So we'll talk about that. We got a great guest coming up, making, I think, his 3rd appearance on the show. John Pakota from Pods Above Replacement will be on in the 1 o'clock hour. He lives in Denver, so, man, he's seen enough Coors Field baseball, but we'll get his thoughts on that and plenty more. But we're a Padres show, and we got to rip the Band-Aid off and talk about yesterday. And I'll start things off with something you may be surprised by, Annie. I don't know. But I thought that was the 2nd most disappointing loss of the week.
Well, my memory, as you know, is not the greatest. What was the first most disappointing loss of the
Tuesday's
week?
Their other loss?
Yeah.
Oh,
the other
Tuesday
loss.
in Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, those games.
I don't know. Terrible, terrible loss. And look, Wandy Peralta stood by his locker and was like, no excuses, no excuses. And they're right. And we've been saying it all week. You have to win these games against the Rockies, but you are going to have a bullpen. The bullpen can't be perfect.
Right.
And it's the end of a 4-game stretch in Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these games happen 3 to 5 times a year. 3 to 5 for every team. For every team, 3 to 5 times a year. There's a game that you completely have in your pocket and you lose it. And honestly, the Padres enjoyed the other end of a couple of these games earlier this year. They were down 8-0 to the Cubs at home. They came back and won. They were down 7-3 to the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Everything, going fireworks exploding everywhere. They came back and they won that game. And I was kind of like, wow, +1, +2. We've even talked like that. Like, those are a couple of games you got in the bucket now. Well, we're back to even strength on those. We gave up 2 games this week that we should have won. And, they always say, well, it's all going to even out. It evened out on the Padres the hard way this week. And while yesterday was crushing, it wasn't as disappointing to me. That may sound weird, but I've just watched enough baseball. What was Mike Shildt truly supposed to do in the 8th inning? He had a shortened bullpen because the pen had to come in the 3rd inning to get this game rolling and get it settled. He had a tired Suarez who probably wasn't even available yesterday.
No, he had thrown, 4 out of the last 5 days or something, or 4 out of the last 5 games. He wasn't available. And they were so far out that it was like, you're already rested. You're like, okay, good. We're not going to have to use Robert Suarez because guess what? We got the freaking Phillies coming to town.
Right.
We might need to use Robert Suarez then. You'd have to, if you used him yesterday, which he wouldn't have even been able to go, but say you're like, okay, it's like a must-win game. We got to do it. He wouldn't be available tonight.
Right.
Maybe not even tomorrow night.
Maybe if the game holds at 9-8 and Wandy gets out of it, Maybe Suarez is down in the bullpen going, just give me the ball. Give me the ball for 3 outs. But there was no possible way that he could come into the 8th inning of yesterday's game. You just can't do that. It would have been abusive to put him in the game in the 8th inning.
You can't ask him to get the 5 outs when he had worked 3 of the previous 4 days. My bad, everybody. 3 of the previous 4 days. So you can't ask him to get those 5 outs. But also you have to think about it long term. If you start to put that kind of stress on him, it might be great. You might win the game. And he might be like, everything's cool, no problem. But then come July, when his arm starts to feel a little something, and now you don't have your closer heading into what's a big stretch. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen with one game, but that's why you don't want to get into the habit of doing that. You've got to work to protect your players as well.
And as it turned out, everything fell apart in a hurry, right? Yuki Matsui comes in up and down, tough situation, long half inning between. He didn't have it. He came back out and he didn't have it on the second part of an up and down. So you go to Peralta. First thing he does is give up a homer. Now, what are you supposed to do? This isn't Tony La Russa ball. You aren't even allowed to take him out. If you wanted
face
to.
3 batters.
Right. Even if you wanted to, which how could you want to? You just brought in a veteran reliever, and what was it, his 3rd pitch that goes over the fence? How do you even know if he's got it or not, right? Like, I mean, yeah, he gave up a home run. That's not good. But if you pulled every pitcher the minute they gave up a home run, you'd run out of pitchers pretty quick. So what happened to follow was obviously, not great. A single, a walk. I think there was a pass ball in there. But at that exact moment, you had one option left in the bullpen, essentially, and that was the Rule 5 kid, who you don't want to pitch in this situation. So he's looking at and I heard him talk about it on the manager's report this morning. He's looking at the situation going, all right, I've got a right-hander up now, Doyle. I'm hoping to get a ground ball.
Yeah.
Get a ground ball, you're out of the inning. And if that doesn't happen, the next hitter's McMahon. Well, now I've got the best lefty I've got available is the guy who's out there right now. So at least, even if he gives up a hit to Doyle, I got to leave him in to face McMahon. And what does he do? He gets a ground ball from Doyle. It goes to the left of Kim. It goes up the middle. And then he strikes out McMahon. Like, I had literally no problem with anything he did in the inning, especially once you looked at it. Like, you could, after the game, everyone's sad. And you're like, Peralta, man, that guy, he blew it. Could we have taken him out? But, like, no, like, looking at it, the only other option was going to Stephen Kolek earlier in the inning. And I don't think foresight, hindsight, regular sight, that seemed like a great idea either.
That's where you have to use your judgment as a manager and go, okay, this guy is a veteran guy. He's been in these kinds of situations before. You are looking for that ground ball. So Schilt's explanation on that made sense. Could you have gone to Kolek? Yes. But now what happens if Kolek gives it up? Now is everyone mad that he let go of the experienced veteran, Wandy Peralta, who's been really good up to this point? Like, you're kind of in you're when the game is lost with the bullpen, a lot of times the manager is going to look silly. He's going to look silly. Look, they've been good coming into this. Here's what you don't want. You don't want it to be a trend. Okay. What Mike Schiltz said holds true as long as it's not a trend. If it becomes a trend, if it happens the next, 3 times over the next few weeks or over the next week or whatever, now you're starting to look at, okay, well, there's a little bit something more here, he doesn't have the right pieces in his bullpen, because Mike Schiltz has already shown he knows how to use and maneuver his bullpen. And again, it's a bullpen that they're trying to learn. Like, they just kind of figured it out. How to use what they have in the bullpen.
Yeah, the roles.
And this guy's going to have this kind of outing and that kind of attitude and this kind of whatever yips. You kind of understand that. So you just kind of get that squared away. You have a bad outing. It's Colorado. I know no one wants to hear the Colorado excuse, but it is Colorado. I do think you have to find a way to win the game. Now, that's easier said than done. That's said by someone sitting in a chair in an office. You have to find a way to you have to find a way to have a winning record against losing teams.
Especially when other teams in the league do it.
Right. When you've got other people in your division doing that, you do. And also the Padres have a losing record now in 1-run games, which it's only like, I saw it this morning.
3-4.
3-4. So 3-4 again. We have a sample size of 7 here. But you start to see, okay, well, you're going to want to correct that. You're going to want to make sure that you're beating losing teams and that you're correcting that. It's not going to be perfect every time, but they had a chance to take 3 out of 4, and they didn't in this series.
They had a chance to sweep
they had a chance
the
to
series.
Sweep. Right.
And by the way, I'm sorry, but if you really look back on it with a clinical eye, they also had a chance to get swept in this series. The reason that the Padres won 2 out of 4 in Colorado is because Dylan Cease pitched better than almost anyone has ever pitched at Coors Field. And Matt Waldron pitched better than any knuckleballer has ever pitched at Coors Field.
And saved the bullpen in that sense, actually, for quite a while.
Absolutely. So those 2 games, hello, lights that turned off. Those 2 games were both unusual wins at Coors Field.
Yeah.
Yesterday, until the 8th inning, was just what you wanted from the Padres. I mean, with one very key exception that we will get to momentarily. But it was everything you wanted. The offense came out strong, and then it kept going. The team fell behind early. They rallied. They put the Rockies in a box. They added on. And by the time you get to the 7th, 6-4, right? Started pitching, struggled. Middle relief came in, did a great job. Brito came in, did a great job. Your second best reliever, De Los Santos, came in. He did a great job. And then Profar homers. And then Rosario gets an RBI. And all of it. So you've taken 6-4 to 8-4. You've pushed it out to 9-4. This is beautiful. It's like the script. I remember when we were kind of grouchy after the Tuesday loss on Wednesday's show going, this is what we need. Score runs, add on, tack on, keep playing, like keep grinding. And they really did. They did everything right. And then the bottom of the 8th was a complete tire fire. I mean, it all happened like that.
Yeah.
So, that's why I say this was the second most disappointing loss of the week. Because when you're up 4-1 in the 5th inning with Michael King on the mound, right off of the heels of the Rockies being dominated by Dylan Cease, and King's out there and he looks strong, you got to win that game.
Yeah.
You got to win that game. And okay, big innings happen. Guys give up big flies, right? Every team's full of major leaguers, all the cliches, all the excuses. But in that game, the big inning happened, and the Padres were down 6-4 in the 5th. That's it. They're down 6-4 in the 5th at Coors Field. Like, that's a game you can win over and over again. But San Diego's offense against Colorado's bullpen for 4 days, frankly, was an abject disappointment. This team did not attack the bullpen of the Rockies, which was bottom ranked in the National League, the way that you would have expected them to. They fell asleep Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in their games. It was only Thursday that the team added on. Mm-hmm. So I look at that and say, okay, there's plenty of places that you can poke holes. But if I'm looking at we got to win 3 out of 4, the one I'm really mad. I mean, yesterday was, it's a baseball tragedy. It happens. But the one I'm mad about is Tuesday because when they fell behind, they didn't come back.
Yeah, and the offense, right, just wasn't getting hardly anything done, in those first games. And so it also made me think about the Brewers game when they were in Milwaukee and the way that they looked at the end of that road trip. And not that this is the same because that was a different scenario going through LA and then having that crazy travel. But I do think that this team might, there's maybe a dig deep kind of thing in terms of getting through the last stretch of something. But again, you really can't. The offense did do that, though. The offense was good yesterday.
Yeah.
So
everything you need.
Right. That's what. So they did. I guess they got where they needed to go in terms of that. And I just think if a bullpen again is consistently giving up runs, if Wandy Peralta's every time he goes out there, this is happening, but he hasn't. His track record has been really pretty good. In terms of coming into this game. So it's really hard to sit here and be like, well, that's the problem. And I saw people yesterday that were like, send Wandy Peralta away and this and that. What are you doing?
Wow.
Like, they're not, listen, if you think the bullpen is going to be perfect all year long, you gotta not watch games because the bullpen is what keeps managers up at night. They say it all the time. The bullpen, not that they're not skilled, they're highly talented. It's just, it's a hard chess match to play. And different days, you got different, types of arms and feels, and we don't know what else was going on in that bullpen. We don't know what Mike Schilt knows that we didn't know.
I'm glad I didn't see the send out Wandy Peralta tweets or whatever reaction they were, because we've often said if you watch baseball like football, you have a real problem.
You're just going to get your hopes crushed.
You're going to go crazy. You're going to drive yourself insane. But if you're watching baseball like an April 25th game, like it's a heavyweight prize fight, where like, oh, you failed, so you got to go. Like, No, I'm sorry. Obviously, no.
Now, look, if we get to July and this team is not beating lesser teams and they're also not beating the better teams, so to speak, then you got a problem. Obviously, you're probably going to be around 500 or have a losing record, and that's going to tell you a lot about the team. I do think one thing that we've been talking about a lot, like we still don't know so much about this team. We've been on a first date with this team. That's all this is. It's a first date. You have no idea what the rest of this season is going to be. We're not even, someone told me yesterday we're 17% into it. So what is going to happen in May? What's that trend going to be? Maybe it's going to be a finicky, late inning stretch of the bullpen. I hope not. I don't think so. But you've got to let that unfold.
Yeah. Bottom line, it's a bummer. And it's so hard because we are in a position, we're creating sports content. You folks are passionate sports fans. You're tuned in. You're Padres fans. And it's just so easy. And honestly, it's so easy to go down the road of coming in here like Mike the Mad Dog style. You can't lose a game like that. Just screaming and yelling. But we're all in this room. We're baseball fans. We've followed this sport for a long, long time. We're not new to the game. Games like that happen. Those are the ones where you pat them on the back and say, go get him next time. You're still good. We still love you. We still believe in you. The ones you want to crack the whip are the ones where you don't see the effort, where you see a change in philosophy.
Process, approach.
Exactly. Where you've screwed up your process chasing a result.
Or you're flat. You're just going out there. You're just kind of
right.
You're not getting the most out of yourself that day.
Yeah. So that's why, even though it may sound counterintuitive, I go to patch your back mode on a night like that.
I will say, what I will say is, and I think that they are disappointed. Getting 2 out of 4 against Colorado, you should be disappointed. There should be a part of you in that clubhouse or amongst these players that are like, damn it. You know what I mean? We could have done it. We could have either swept them, like you said. We could have taken 3 out of 4. You definitely don't want to be like, well. But to Craig's point, it's how they react now. How are you going to react with 2 really good teams now coming to Petco Park? How are you going to fight? How are you going to compete? How are you going to turn it around? I think that's what you're looking for now.
When we come back, we'll set up all of today's show for you, and we'll take one last tickle of this game. For the last time, probably on the station today, we'll play yesterday's Mike Shildt sound because it really told you a lot about him as a manager and his style. And of course, later in our Padres Deep Dive Hour at 11 a.m., we'll bring you some of the sound from when Mike came on after a good night's rest and having flown home, slept in his own bed.
He seemed a little. A little ready to chat.
Yeah.
A little passionate.
Well,
shall we say.
I think it's the first time he's been in the crosshairs at all in 28 games as a manager. It was the first time that he had a reporter going like, well, why'd you do what you did? And of course, he had answers. But I think it all made sense when you looked at it in review. So when we come back, we'll hear that from Shilty, our reactions to it. Plus, everyone's pointing the finger at the wrong guy for yesterday's game. If you want to point a finger at somebody on the Padres for yesterday's game, I'll tell you who it is. It's not the one everyone's talking about. We'll get there next. Annie and Elsten underway on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:25 on the Fan. Welcome back. Annie and Elsten here with you until 2 p.m. Working our way towards Padres baseball at home today. So we'll have Gwen and Chris on from 2 until 5:30 today. At 5:40, it will be the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt, which, if you didn't hear, is now also being streamed on YouTube. So going beyond just our talk shows now to our Padres pre- and post-game coverage as well. You can watch it all on YouTube on the 97.3 The Fan webpage. I know after yesterday's game, I popped over going, I saw some stuff on Twitter about Schilt. I was like, what's going on? Wanted to pop over, hear what it was. So make sure that if you haven't, that you go to YouTube, find the 97.3 The Fan page, subscribe to it, and you can watch everything. 6:40 tonight, Padres and Phillies, 2022 NLCS rematch. Phillies coming in hot, locked in, great team.
I do want to say on the YouTube, everything's categorized by playlist. So it's easy to find, too. If you want to look at the pre and post, it's there. And in Elsten's got a page. Brayton Soprano Show's got a page. Gwen and Chris, Ben and Woods, all on the Fan website of YouTube, if you will.
I'll make an embarrassing confession before we turn back to, it's not that embarrassing, but this morning, right? Fresh Kit Friday. If you're watching on YouTube,
Fresh Kit Friday.
Every
Craig.
Friday, got a soccer kit on. And I looked in the closet today and I went, okay, I'm going to wear my Loyal, 2022 Loyal. And then I went, wait, did I wear that one already? I wasn't sure. So you know what I did?
What?
I
Went back and watched?
turn on your mic.
Went back and watched?
I went to our page and I just hovered on the thumbnails.
Nice.
I was like, oh, well, okay, here was last
see what you've
here
already
was last
worn?
Friday. All right, I see what I'm wearing. Okay, go back a
Okay.
week, go back a week, go back a
Yeah.
week. And I did that.
That'll help. That's
I
good.
did. I was like, okay, this one, and then I organized them in my
receipts.
closet. I'm like, okay, here's the ones I've already worn. Here's the one. I can get easily through at least half of the year. It seems I only have to wear one kit a week to without repeating.
Guys planning it out.
That's good.
we'll see how long
it's
I
good to
go.
have a strategy, a plan. Yeah.
My dad does that with his work shirts. He has a Monday shirt, a Tuesday shirt, a Wednesday shirt, a Thursday shirt, and a Friday shirt.
There you go.
Actually eliminates decision fatigue.
you know what?
It's very
Yeah,
smart. That's why Steve Jobs did what he did.
When I went
know.
to Catholic school my whole life, people were like, "How could you wear a uniform?" I said it was very easy.
Yeah.
Didn't have to.
You didn't have to think
pick.
about anything.
Right? Didn't have to worry about if it was trendy or not. Everybody's wearing the same thing. It was nice and easy.
And here I am expending all this energy to make sure I haven't repeated T-shirts,
Yeah.
haven't repeated jerseys.
Yeah. Makes it a lot easier. That you have the rotating Friday kilts, but you should have your Monday shirt, Craig, your Tuesday shirt, your Wednesday shirt. That's why when people tune in, they know what day of the week it is.
Nah.
Oh, what shirt's Craig wearing?
Nah.
Well,
Yeah, there
Mr.
you
Relevant's
go.
Wednesday. It's Wednesday today.
Right. No, I like variety. Variety is the spice of life. I don't want to just wear the same 5 polos in rotation all the time, or even the same 4 T-shirts in one kit.
Good to have I understand where you're coming from. You people comment on the T-shirts. Hey, what are you wearing?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, back to the pods real quick. I want to just pay off the teas. So everyone's mad at Wandy Peralta. Wandy Peralta came in yesterday, and obviously he was terrible. He faced 5 batters. He got 1 of 5 out. Luckily, it was the last one. He punched out the left-hander at least. Kept the game in balance. I don't know. Did he get a hold for that? I don't think he did.
I don't know.
No, because when he came in, it wasn't a safe situation. But that's not who I'm mad about. That's not who I'm mad about from that game. If I was going to point a finger, that's not who I'm mad about. Point of fact is, Annie, the Padres didn't have on this day, as it turned out, enough outs in their bullpen to cover 6 1/3 innings. And the reason for that is because Randy Vasquez, who was given a 4-1 lead, who was given the run support early, was given a chance to relax and breathe into his start, put 2 runners on, nobody out every inning that he was in the game. Loaded the bases, couldn't throw strikes, was 2-0 on every hitter. Randy Vasquez didn't give this team the length they needed yesterday. If he could have given them 4 more outs, if he could have gotten them through 4 innings, Johnny Brito could have covered the 5th and the 6th, and you could have seen De Los Santos and only De Los Santos and Matsui pitched the 7th and 8th, and you would have had room for Peralta or Suarez in the 9th. And it's easy in the moment in the 8th to get mad at the guy who's there right then. But the guy who was there at the beginning of the game and got run support wasn't even able to get through 3 for San Diego. To me, that's where the pitching lost the game.
I'm not mad at him. I think that he got called up because of a Yu Darvish injury. I'm not mad at Yu Darvish either. I think that you get the opportunity and you do your best. I don't think that Randy Vasquez was up there trying to put runners on base, but
No,
I do think like overall, yeah. I mean, you want more length from your starters. I think that the Padres probably, if they were being honest, if you gave them truth serum, knew that was a possibility that they might have to go to their bullpen earlier, and probably felt like they were in a good position with their bullpen because of what had happened the few games before. I mean, they didn't have to blow up their bullpen at all, really. I mean, you had to use them after Waldron in that earlier start, but the day before, but you didn't have to, like, I don't think they were ever blown up this series, right?
No, not till yesterday.
Right. So that's honestly, to me, that's like the best case scenario. Like you've got your bullpen ready to go, kind of like, or at least more ready than I guess in previous times. But I don't know, if you're going to look at Vasquez, then I would go to what Braden was talking about in the break, which was the pass balls by Campusano.
Yeah.
Or maybe the fact that the offense in the 9th inning sat down 1-2-3.
It went down 1-2-3. I mean, your leadoff hitter and Jay Cronenworth swung at a 2-0 pitch. Like, you got to get on base, man. You got to find a way to get on base. The worst pitch to hit for Major League Baseball players this year is a 2-0 pitch, because they swing out of their shoes, think it's going to be a good groove pitch, and they pop it up or they do something bad with it. And that's honestly, it's a philosophy that a lot of teams are starting to address to. It's like, maybe I shouldn't swing at 2-0 because I got guys that are swinging out of their shoes. You got a 2-0 pitch, you're the leadoff guy, you're the tying run. You got to get yourself on base. He didn't do that, and they went down 1-2-3. Jose Azocar got picked off the inning before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I'm sorry,
my point.
That's flat out unacceptable for a Major League Baseball player to get picked off at first base. Do I need to play Augie Garrido's speech? Do I need to play it? It's unacceptable. I mean, you can't be getting picked off at first base. So as much as you want to get on the pitching staff, which is valid, Wandy Peralta had a bad day. That's a team loss right there. That's a team L that they took. And, you know, as Vasquez, Craig mentioned it, I can't tell you how many times I looked up and there was runners on first and second and a 2 or 3-0 count to the batter with nobody out in an inning. I think that happened at least 3 or 4 times.
It happened all 3 innings.
The only thing you could say about the starting pitching, though, is they got you 5 innings because Johnny Brito saved the day in that spot. But that's still not enough. You got to get 6 innings out of your, quote, starter. And Randy Vasquez, young guy, great stuff. Not a lot of command, and that doesn't play well in Colorado.
Also, like, what was that your first time? That was his first time pitching in Colorado, I would think.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have a guy like Dylan Cease who gave up 4 or 5 runs. I can't remember. I think it was 4.
He got shelled the first time he was there.
Time he was at Colorado, and he learned this is how you got to pitch at Coors, and my eyesight's got to be different, and where I aim the ball's got to be different, and so sometimes it's that too. Like if that's your first time pitching there, it can really rock you. But I also, my point was that is that there's sometimes we look at like where the game was lost, and there's an argument for that, right? Like big players make big plays in big moments. You've got to be able to make the big play in the big moment. When the game is on the line, you want to be able to make that big play, whether it's after the trouble happened or keeping the trouble from happening at all. You want to do that, but at the same time, you always got to look back and see, well, what were all the missed opportunities, right? And Randy Vasquez was one.
That's it. And
so is Matsui. I mean, Matsui, he put the runners on.
He did, and also he was brought in the middle of an inning, and then he was asked to go up and down. And he's not exactly, 6'2", 190 out there. He's a little dude, and he was put in a situation, and he didn't rise to the moment in that incident. But yeah, again, I'm not like I'm mad. I want to be very clear. I'm not mad at Randy, or I'm not saying Randy Vasquez is bad and he should be punished. I mean, no. But if everyone wants to focus their ire on 1 out in the 8th, Peralta's on the mound. What are you doing, Schilt? Why are you doing that? Like, put yourself in his chair. Put yourself in the captain's chair, and you're trying to plan through. And part of that plan was for Randy Vasquez to pitch more than 2 2/3 innings in the game. And when that didn't happen, you fire your Brito bullet. And then he goes as long as he can. And you go to De Los Santos because you need righties, because the Rockies have an all-righty team. And he goes 4 outs, and he's great. If those 4 outs are transposed into the 7th and 8th inning, The Padres are golden. You see what I'm saying? So it's one thing stacked on the other.
But Mike Shildt had a plan. Like, I guarantee you, he had a plan for if Vasquez was going to get rocked, and he had a plan for if Vasquez was going to get him into the 5th or 6th. And yeah, ideally, of course, you want that. You want your starter to get you more innings, right? Of course. But I also, again, if you gave them truth serum, I think that you're going to have starts like that, like especially for a guy that's getting called up to take Yu Darvish's place and probably wasn't maybe ready for that.
His command's off. He's good. I like what I've seen out of Randy Vasquez. I'm not ready to just like punt him off into the abyss like some people in the chat. He needs to learn how to throw strikes.
Right. His command is
and right now, unfortunately for the Padres, he has to do that here.
Right.
Look, Brito's command was terrible. Now his command is better.
Brito, I wouldn't mind seeing Brito get a start.
I think he probably will.
Well, I think he should get the next start.
But to go back to what you guys were saying, I mean, that was probably, I can't imagine Brito pitching in Colorado beforehand. De Los Santos did. Matsui's first time pitching in Colorado. Peralta being a guy that's been on the East Coast most of the time, I'm sure he's spent his fair share coming back and forth. And Kolek was pitching there for the first time. So you got a lot of guys pitching there for the first time. But also, as much as people want to get, Craig has flat out proven the cliche that we hear all the time. It's not just one play. It's a combination of things that go out throughout an entire game that cause you losses. That's a team loss right there. They did a lot of things poorly yesterday. Despite having a lot of good things, I mean, you look at the stat sheet. Everybody in the starting lineup got a knock.
Yeah,
and you're thinking that's great.
Did a lot of great things.
There was a lot of mistakes yesterday, running in outs and getting picked off, and defensively not doing well behind the plate. The best guys in the bullpen not having their stuff. I mean, if you look at the box score and you take away the stats and just look at the names, those are the best guys in the bullpen pitching.
Right.
It's not like he was trying to sneak a bunch of guys that never throw in the game and it burned him. He pitched his best guys. And as much as people like to blame the manager, right? Because it's always the manager's fault when they lose. The best guys gave up home runs, didn't have it. That's not his fault. I mean, there's nothing else. You can't sit there and be like, well, Kolek would have done a better job. You don't know that. They pitched the best guys.
Right. And that's it. That's it, and that's all. It's why I started the show saying it wasn't even the loss I was the most mad about in the series.
Right.
Never mind. Everyone's like, it's the worst loss of the year. I'm like, it's not even the worst loss of the series.
It's the most embarrassing loss.
But those embarrassments happen. They're going to have LA's already blown a game like that. The Cubs have blown a game like that. Diamondbacks have blown a game like that. We've blown a game like that. Everyone's going to blow a game here or there where it just all falls apart and there's nothing you can do to stop it. The way this game could have been saved was to pitch better earlier in the game. That's the assertion I was making in this segment. If you do that, it alleviates the issue at the back end when now Shildt is looking at his bullpen going, I've got Peralta, I've got Suarez, who I don't want to use. I don't want to use him at all.
Right.
Today.
No.
Like, I want to skip him today, so I don't have him. I don't have Morejon because he went long 2 days ago. I've got Cosgrove, and I've got Kolek. That's all I've got left in my bullpen. And probably he was saving Cosgrove to pitch the 9th because he needed somebody to pitch the 9th in a situation where they get to the 9th and the game's in balance. So, honestly, once you're there in that spot using the best veteran reliever you have at the time, I got nothing mad to say about Mike Shildt. I'm going to say something nicer about him, too. Let's take this time out because you can pick it apart, but I think what he did after the game is indicative of a leader. And the kind of leader I want leading my baseball team. Annie and Elsten talk some Shilty when we come back here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie and Elsten on the Fan 1045 on a Friday morning. Jake in our YouTube chat says, I'm not sure why anyone is surprised or mad by yesterday's Padres game at Colorado. Every year they play this exact game in Denver. It happens all the time to San Diego. I didn't remember this specifically, but I saw that the Rockies beat the Padres 3 times last year at Coors Field, and all 3 were walk-offs. So
That doesn't surprise me.
Wait, what? The Rockies beat the Padres?
3 times in Coors
And
last
they were all
year.
walk-offs?
All walk-offs. So, like, the Rockies coming from behind to beat the Padres in excruciating fashion.
I think it's like the whole, like so many fans have taken to the narrative of like, this team is different, which you can make arguments that there are different aspects of this team so far. And you know what? A team can be different and the record could be the same. They're just doing it in different ways. So we'll see. I mean, like there's a lot more to be left to be uncovered there.
So the game went the way the game went, right? Mike Shildt is in the dugout trying to pull the right levers. And as we discussed and broke down last segment, I think it's extremely fair and not being apologetic. And I don't try to do apologist radio. Like, I think it's very fair to look at the situation and look at the scenarios he was presented with, and then the in-game scenarios, the batter-to-batter matchups in the 8th, and say that it was very defensible, his decisions. However, it's also a reporter's job to look at the key moments and to try and get them, elucidated, cleaned up, detailed with post-game questioning. So after yesterday's game, with the result already, 5 minutes later, everyone's still in stew mode. They had the post-game presser with Mike Shildt, and the Athletics' Dennis Lin asked him about leaving in Wandy Peralta for 5 batters instead of the 3 minimum, and which led to a greater exchange, and here it is for you.
It did seem like, for as good as Wandy has been of late, he just didn't really have it from the start today. Why was he left in for 5 batters? Did you consider getting him out of there earlier?
It was obvious to you?
I said it seemed like you didn't really have it, early today.
Okay. Wandy has about a 60% ground ball rate. Okay. The second a guy gives up a home run, I can't just go take out a guy that's got a microscopic ERA and's got righties out all year. Now, it can be subjective whether he has or not. That can be your opinion. My opinion is I got a veteran guy out there that knows how to get a ball on the ground and is 1 pitch away from getting a ground ball. So that's what we had. It didn't work out. Things don't work out all the time. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Oh, that's fair.
It's a crazy venue, crazy things happen here. How much of it is concern versus that's just, you just chalk that one up to?
I don't have any concern. I'm going to tell you what, I walked out of this ballpark, there's some agitation because we didn't win the game. And I'm going to tell you what I walk out of this ballpark with, a couple things. A bunch of gamers that showed up without one of our better players in Manny, which, rightfully so, he's having a baby. We had Jackson who, a little ouchy, want to stay away from it. We had guys all over the field playing their asses off and going out and stepping up and getting after it every day. A bunch of gamers stepping up all across the board. And I'm going to tell you what, I'll run Wandy Peralta out there any and every day in the 8th inning with the lead. Okay? It doesn't work sometimes. But I can tell you what, this group, outside of the result at the end of the day, the heart and the competitive spirit and those guys getting after everything they've got, it doesn't work out every time. But I'll take this group any day of the week because I got a bunch of winning gamers. Take that over the long haul.
Yes, you will. And if you're starting to get clued in as to what kind of manager Mike Shildt is the kind of manager that's going to ride for his boys. Like, he believes in the team. He is going to persistently, publicly instill belief in his team. If it is flagging, he is going to reinforce it. If it's there, he is going to illustrate and highlight it. He is creating and carving an identity for a team and trying to build a team dynamic that is different from what's been here in San Diego the last couple of years. And what I think is important, Annie, and you know this very well, having been around the game so long and been behind the scenes, what people don't realize is that Mike Shildt is there. He's got reporters in front of him. He's got microphones. He's got cameras pointed at him. You didn't follow him into his manager's office when the game was over. You have no idea that he didn't get on the phone with AJ 10 minutes after that soundbite you just heard and say to him, hey, you got to give me someone better to pitch in the 8th inning in those spots. Like, I need a little help around here. I can't always do it with these cats. You have no idea. And I heard a caller this morning on Ben and Woods, and I thought he said it great. And he was speaking from a business managerial standpoint. But he said part of leadership is you praise publicly and you criticize privately. And I see that dynamic in Mike Schilt. I see someone who publicly is standing up for ridiculous things, guys getting picked off, bad base running, etc. But he's not the type that's going to be bussing everybody, meaning throwing everyone under the bus in order to make his own star a little bit shinier. He's going to go out there and he's going to do his Aaron Boone cosplay. These guys are a bunch of gamers. And like, that's his style. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, I always hold to, I never look at, like, a manager has their own style. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It's whatever's going to get your team to respond or back you the best. Now, it's too early to tell. If you're going to go like this in April, by May or June, could that be received as well as it's maybe is or isn't being received right now? I don't know. Like, we're gonna find out altogether, us. But I think that that's his MO, and I get that. I think that if you're a player and you hear your manager backing you and passionately saying, this, I'm going to ride with this guy every time, I don't think that can hurt anything. I think that, I think that that's probably helpful. I also think that those questions were very fair. And when we even talked to Mike Schilt before the season began, we joked about how he's going to get questioned for his bullpen usage, and he joked about it. And I think that every manager knows that, like, you're going to get questioned for things that are happening in the game. And I thought that those questions that were asked were very fair.
Absolutely. The question must be asked. He didn't like the couching of
no,
it
I don't
seemed
know if
like.
The question must be asked. Well, I think it seemed like because he gave up a homer. What was it? Hold on, let me find it. He gave up he had to face 3 batters. And he gave up a homer, a single, a walk, so that's why it seemed like.
Yeah, right. Because he had faced 3, and all 3 had reached base, and one of them had circled the bases.
But okay, look, Mike Schilt, good dude. I'm sure that he's gonna, I'm sure that he. I'm not even sure. Like, you're right. He has a way that he's going about this, and that is his way. And I think that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be his way of handling these kinds of things.
Now take yourself and put yourself in an analytical situation, like you're watching through one of those two-way mirrors, and you're watching several different test cases, and you've got manager A who comes in after a tough loss and says, my guys are gamers, and don't you tell me about my reliever, and blah 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 blah, right? What Mike just did. Or you have a manager who comes in and goes, Wandy Peralta's got to be better than that. We put a veteran pitcher in a big situation and he doesn't come through.
I don't know. That's what Dave Roberts does. I've heard Dave Roberts do that plenty of times. Yeah, this guy let it up. This guy didn't do a good job tonight. This guy's got to be better. This guy can't walk so many guys. And it's worked for the Dodgers.
Sure.
Yeah, they love him up there.
It's not going to work every time. But I think my main thing is, like, you've got to find your identity, and you've got to stick with it. So if this is going to be, I'm not even saying it's like a contrived thing. It's just this is who he is. So players are all going to respond differently. There are some players who are like, I love that, and then there are going to be some players that are like, that's not my thing. And then there's going to be some players who are like, talk to me every day about my family. And then there's going to be other players who are like, leave me alone. It's very individualized across the clubhouse.
Absolutely. But I don't think there's one guy in the Padres clubhouse, when that stuff filtered through their socials or whatever, that said, oh, Mike, don't go out there and back us like that. I'm pissed. Like, I think everyone's like, yeah, cool. All right. And now we're on, just like you've told me so many times. And then they got on the charter and they played dominoes. And they played some cards. Yeah. And they watched a show on their iPads.
And they realized it's April whatever.
They flushed
26th.
Because today they've got to face Aaron Nola.
Right.
And tomorrow they got to face Ranger Suarez. Like, they're facing one of the best teams in all of baseball the next 3 days. And they got another red-hot team right on their heels. And after that, they go to Chase Field and they take on the Diamondbacks. And you know what?
Reigning National League champion.
You can straight up sink this season the next 10 days. You could straight up take this season and put it right in the porcelain fixture with a 1-9. You know, with a 2-8, a 1-9, an 0-10. So what are we going to do? We're going to blow everything up for a Game 4 loss in Colorado? He's going to get behind his guys because there's another war to fight tonight. And there's another one tomorrow, and there's another one the day after that. And so I've got beyond no problem with what he did last night.
I didn't have a problem with what he said. I actually appreciated the explanation. He gave an explanation that was a good explanation.
Right.
Like a lot of managers will be like, they'll never give you as much as he gave you. He gave you like his thinking on the ground ball and the veteran and everything. Like that was cool. I think it made for a little bit of a tense post game that maybe didn't need to be tense, but whatever. It's entertaining.
Right.
Thanks, Dennis.
The third fake manager I would have given you was the one who says nothing. Goes, manager's choice. Manager's choice. We're on to Colorado. You know, we're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Philly.
Oh, no, there's another option. You could have answered the question and maybe just calm, you didn't have, there's another option. It could just be a calm answer to the question.
I'm fine with him being, hackles up, got my boys' backs. There's a different version of Shelty. We'll hear it in our second hour. Hour number 2 of the program. Welcome back. Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang, rolling until 2 o'clock here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. With Annie Heilbrunn, with Braden Soprenic, Craig Elsten on hand here with you. It's our pleasure and privilege to be steering this multimedia operation live on 97.3 FM. Shout out to everyone in your cars. I'm sure you saw on Twitter the guy who pointed out he was listening to us on his old-timey radio.
Amazing. We appreciate you.
That was sick. I know it's probably brand new technology that was put in an old-timey 1930s cabinet style thing, but
Yeah.
it really looked like an old fireside chat FDR level radio. It was like,
It's very old-timey, but cool.
it was awesome. So if you're listening to us on a radio that's not your car radio, we especially appreciate that small subset of our listeners. We are also live on the Odyssey app. If you're streaming us on your phone, we say shout out to you, AUDACY. If you want to download the app for free, you can go back, listen to past segments. You could go back and listen to the Mike Schultz Manager Report if you didn't want to hear the clips that we've pulled for you. All of that's available. We're also a podcast. We're speaking to you from the past into the future, available on every possible podcast platform, including Apple, including Google, including Spotify, and of course, including the Odyssey app itself. Last but not least, we're a television show live on YouTube every single day. Every hour that we're on, we're live on YouTube on the 97.3 The Fan webpage, which you can follow all day and all night long, continuing through to Gwynn and Chris and continuing to Sam Levitt and the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show, which will be live on YouTube from the ballpark today at 5:40 p.m. Padres lose, heartbreaker, most heartbreaking loss of the season, 10-9. I still say the second most frustrating loss of the week because they fell behind and couldn't come back Tuesday in Colorado. In the end, it's a 4-game split, which I guess I'm contractually obligated to accept every time at Coors Field.
Well, it was funny because I was thinking this team could use more consistency, but then I heard Woods this morning, or so I think it was Woods, that was like, well, 14 and 14 is consistent. Like you're doing enough to win and be at 500.
Yeah.
But you're not. Well, I don't know. Now that's going backwards in my head. But yeah, you're at 500 right now. It's not the end of the world. You do have some tough teams coming in, but the Padres have played tough teams and they haven't done poorly. So maybe this is a team too that just tends to rise up a little bit too when they're at Petco Park, the pressure's on. You're up against a formidable opponent. They did it in Milwaukee too. So there's a good chance that the Padres these are going to be some really good competitive games.
I'm sure it will because the Padres right now, you know what they are, Annie? They're a Rorschach test. You know what a Rorschach test is, audience? Do you remember that? When you went to, I don't know, the psychologist, maybe in high school, and they show you this bunch of ink spots. They go, well, what does that look like to you? You're like, oh, I think that looks like a spider. I think that looks like a butterfly. Oh, I think that looks like an old lady who's angry. Like, it's your interpretation of something that could be looked at many ways. 14 and 14. You look at the Padres as a massive disappointment. You look at the Padres as an underachieving bunch. You look at them as a team that's fired up and on the come up, and they're ready to roll through the National League going forward. Like, how do you want to interpret this team? I'll tell you how I interpret this team. I like this team. I like in the old-timey cliche way, I like the cut of its jib. I like the way it's attacking. I like the way it's bounced back over the course of 28 games so far. And I did look this up right before the end of last segment. It was 37 games into the season last year, Game 2 in Minnesota, after losing 2 out of 3 to LA at home, that after a dispirited loss, Bob Melvin came out and he fired his one bullet of the year and expressed his disappointment in preparation, in attitude, in effort. He brought up the word effort like 3 times, and it was the first time in what turned out to be arguably the most disappointing season in Padres history that you were like, ooh, clouds on the horizon. Something's going on. Something's not right inside the good ship Padre. That was just like, in terms of where we are in the season, it's just 9 games down the road that Bob Melvin felt the need to call out his team publicly for their effort and their preparation. By contrast, listen to what Mike Schilt said yesterday. He loves his team's effort. He loves where they are mentally, and he wants to fight for his group. I'm not saying that Bob, was not fighting for them enough. I'm saying he was legitimately worried as a baseball man in his early 60s about the future of his team, that he knew, I've got like one chance to shoot this bullet. I'm going to shoot it before game 40. We're nowhere near that in 2024.
Well, we don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, Mike Schilt.
True.
We don't know if he has fired a bullet. We don't know what he's saying to these players. Bob Melvin, I think what caught Bob Melvin off guard, and maybe it shouldn't have, maybe it wouldn't have caught another manager off guard, I don't know, but it was the mixing of the superstars, and I think that it was hard for him, and he's admitted it. It was hard for him to know exactly when to pull those levers, because the year before he waited until September to pull the lever.
Yeah.
And then the team went to the postseason. So I think
Pull the lever, Kronk.
And Bob Melvin would say all the time, like the time for flipping tables, like you've got to watch it. You got to be careful when that is, So we'll find, yeah, exactly. Like I think like there's different ways of doing it. I think what Mike Schilt is doing is he's sticking by who he is as a manager. He's sticking by his convictions. He's got a lot of strong convictions. And that's going to play out over the course of the year, but I think that it's great to see him so passionately feeling about his players and his team and how much talent that he believes he has.
When I look at this club right now, I see a team that's playing offensively better than I thought I could expect them to. I see a defense that we counted on to be one of the 5 best in baseball, instead close to the league lead in unearned runs allowed, near the top in errors. And I know that is not indicative of who they are. That looks like an aberration. You look at it, you go, oh, well, who's leading the team in errors? Hassan Kim and Fernando Tatis Jr., our Gold Glovers, are leading our team in errors. Is that something we expect to continue? Do we expect them each to have 20 errors this season? Like, of course not. So I look at that and I go, okay, that's something that has been worse than you'd expect and should pick up. And when we were talking on the roundtable yesterday, Annie, I look at the rotation as the biggest variable on this team. Is it going to be as good as we thought? Is it worse than we thought? Right now, that's what's gone up and down for San Diego through 28 games. But the bones of what I've seen, honestly, I prefer to what we saw a year ago.
I listen. I think they've done a good job. They've shown us a lot of great things this month of April, but that's all it's been. It's been a month, and so it's really hard to draw a conclusion to all of last year. Like to the month, I'm trying to think of what they were like their first month of April last year, and I think that they had a similar record. They had some really big games in Mexico City. They had some good wins and maybe some also kind of like this, some losses that you felt got away. But I don't know that anyone was selling this team off in April last year. I can't remember at the end of April, but I don't think that it was like this team. No, I mean, I remember.
Would you like to know?
I've
got it right here.
Yeah, it's right here.
Because guess what? On Saturday, April 29th last year, the Padres were 14-14.
Yeah, so same record. Now, have they gotten there different ways? Do you love what you're seeing a little bit on offense and in terms of comebacks, and they had the extra inning win, and you're seeing guys really in on each other. You're seeing some cohesion. I would have to go back and watch those games last year to know for sure if I wasn't seeing some guys dancing in the outfield or some guys high-fiving in the dugout or some guys, like I bet you I did, but so I don't think it's different. I don't think it's fully the same. I do love what I'm seeing from players in terms of we were embarrassed from last year. We are not going to let it snowball this year. I think that's something that's different that you can hang your hat on, that they're really aware of it and they don't want to let it go down that road that it went down last year. And they're aware, like even Fernando Tatis Jr. said last night, he said, he was asked, what did you take away from this 4-game set? And he said, I took away, this was his quote, okay? And I know what he's saying here. Let me find it so that I don't mess it up here. guys, this is terrible radio for you. Okay, he said,
I think the song made it better.
he said,
That was entertaining.
what do you take away in general from the 4-game series? He said, quote, just doesn't matter who it is. You cannot miss the small details. You cannot sit down, get laid back, and just show up to a game of baseball and think that things are going to go your way. It doesn't matter who it is. You show up and play the best baseball you can as a team. Now, that's a little, you hear players say those types of things, but I think it's good that he had that at the front of his mind in terms of like any team, any day has the ability to beat us. And we got a little humbled this series. I'm sure that they felt like they could have swept or taken 3 out of 4. And so good. They were aware of what happened last year. They don't want to let it go down that road again. And I think that could be the biggest difference for them.
They continue to say the right things, but until they start doing the right things, I think Padres fans are going to be skeptical. And I think a lot of last year, I think a lot of people are on this team because last year they were duped by the exact same thing, right? Like if last year didn't happen, and let's just say this was the year after the playoffs here, I think people would be like, you know what? It's baseball, right? It's 14-14.
Yeah.
It's early. But the fact that this happened last year, people are skeptical. It's almost like the boy that cried wolf. It's like, all right, well, they're saying all the right things, right? They're saying all the right things, but until they start to do it, I think fans will continue to be skeptical. And the fact that they're at the exact same spot they were last year, is a tough sell for a lot of fans. I'm not saying that's how I feel, but I can understand where the fans are coming from when it comes to, we've heard this before. We've seen this before. We don't want this to drag out the entire year like it did last year.
Now, because this became the subject of the segment, I'm going to do what we do on a deep dive. I'm going to go a little bit deeper under the hood. Yes, last year, at the 29-game mark, the Padres were 14-14. But also last year, at the 29-game mark, the Padres had already been shut out 4 times.
Rough.
4 times they had been shut out in their 14 losses. Already at that point, we were going, what's going on with this team? I thought we had the best offense we've ever had, like the best offense in Padres history. How do we keep getting shut out over and over? And the answer from the clubhouse, as you remember very well, Annie, was, don't y'all worry about it.
Right.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
We're going to be fine. Don't you worry about us in here. You guys are silly for asking questions. Like, we're cool. And again, point of fact, from going 14-14, the Padres built up to 18-15. Which was their high water mark for the entire season.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
18-15 is where they got after 14-14. They then faded through a Minnesota series that by the second game, Bob Melvin fired his panic signal flare and said our effort is questionable. At the end of that series, they were 19-19. And the Padres didn't see 500 again until 80-80.
Right.
All right?
Those are 2 incredibly frustrating losses to Minnesota, too, by the way. The loss on a walk-off, and then they should have won that last game on the getaway day before going to L.A. and getting swept.
And
Right.
I think we would all agree offensively, and really pitching has been good. They've been a little streaky, but I think overall, like you have a good rotation, and we'll look and see what the consistency ends up being. But offensively, they have done a much better job, it seems like. I feel like anyways, I guess if you're just going by the eye test in terms of comebacks, in terms of being aggressive early in games. Now, they are sometimes aggressive early in games, and then it kind of gets quiet after that. But I think that in general, like you see enough of a better approach that you feel like things are maybe going to be different.
Their bottom of the order is way better.
Yeah, their bottom of the order is way better.
It's way better. That's the difference. So when the top guys are struggling this year, they got guys at the bottom end of the order that could pick them up. Where last year, top guys struggle, and it's just everybody struggles because the bottom half was never really carrying the team or helping the team. Where, I mean, even that, I think the comeback against the Dodgers, I'm pretty sure the bottom of the order was like the main driving force of that. You had guys like Tyler Wade and Kyle Higashioka getting knocks late and chipping away at runs, and Jackson Merrill had the big hit in that game in extra innings as well. I mean, those are plays and approaches, as Andy was saying, from the bottom half that you never saw last year.
100%. Mm-hmm. So, again, it's a Rorschach test. How do you want to look at it? But I think it's been like an interesting discussion here in these last few minutes just to go, okay, where were we last year? Where are we this year? Now take it further. What did it look like when we got to the same place? It wasn't the same path to get to the same place. Right now, we're 14-14 with a team that's shown an ability to come from behind, a team that's shown a lot more consistency, a team that after 28 games is getting quotes from its superstar saying we need to be detail-focused, we need to be locked in, we've got to bring it every minute. It's the opposite message of what we were getting at this time last year, which was like cool,
And
cool,
a team with
chill
less
out.
talent.
Yes.
So it seems like they have, them being 14-14, they have, aside from yesterday, it was bad. They look like they have overachieved to get to this point, or at least they've looked a lot better than the team that is 14-14 with Juan Soto and all these veteran guys, right? That seems more of a disappointment.
So the next 10 days are gigantic. The next 10 games are gigantic for this team. Philly, Cincy, at Arizona for 4. Okay? This is it. This is the stuff. You've got to keep it rolling now. And the difference between last year and this year, again, for me, is I just feel like this team is together and that they're gonna attack this together. And at this time last year, this team was there, but what's going on? It's all confusing. Bring the gold, hashtag. Like, the vibes weren't right. It's not all about vibes, but I like this. I like this 14-14 better than last year's 14-14, and I'm just here to say that. I like this team. I like where we're going.
I think it's a good call there. I mean, it does have a better feel for it for sure, and the way that they're talking does sound better in terms of, like I said, what their awareness is. And I think that, I mean, like, look, they seem like a team that likes each other, and they've got talent on this team. This team has talent for sure. So in terms of just making sure that they're all, keeping that focus, I think that's what Mike Schultz is doing, and keeping them in that same kind of intention, as he likes to call it. And so that's what you could ask for at this point. Like, I mean, you just don't want to play these next 10 games and just dig yourself a hole, but you also, no one's going to freak out majorly if you don't win every game. Like, you just have to keep yourself in the race, essentially, is what you need to do.
Yeah, you gotta keep doing what you're doing. You gotta keep chopping these things up. If they go 3-3 this homestand and then they split 4 in Arizona, not gonna be mad at it. I'm not, because you're gonna be right there in the game. The only thing they cannot afford to do in this critical stretch is completely fall off of the shelf. And oops, all of a sudden we're 6 games under 500. We're a few games out. Everybody is ahead of us. And now we've got the Crows circling above.
That's also when you really see the true test of togetherness in the team. I mean, when adversity hits, which it will at some point this season, that's when you're really going to see the team's identity. You're really going to see who the team is, and hopefully that stretch isn't too long. But that's when a player is slumping, especially a superstar, to the point that it's affecting his performance. Who is he in those moments? How does he continue to be impactful on the team, even if his performance at the plate is not showing up? Those things are really going to determine, and they're going to go a lot farther. When things are good, things are good. It's when things take a turn south that you start to really see the true colors of everything. And again, you hope that with the Padres that doesn't happen for too long, and that's also the mark of a good team. You're able to turn those stretches around quicker. So yeah, I mean, look, they've been tested. They've been tested a little bit to start the season. I'm not going to take that away from them. They certainly have, and they've done a good job responding to it. And we're going to learn more about them as the season goes on.
Well, this team, to make the playoffs, has to win on the margins. They have to win by making good decisions on what might be considered something small. The last guy on the bullpen, the last guy on the bench, the type of thing that you can go, who cares? All we need is for Manny to hit a homer. But reality, these little things could be the difference in a game, 2 games, that takes you in or out of the playoffs. So in our next segment, as we kind of wrap up Padres Deep Dive for today, what about those margins? The last guy on the bench, Graham Pauley. The last guy in the bullpen, maybe an option there. Who do we want to make the next start if Yu Darvish can't take his next turn? Let's address all 3 of those when we come back. Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. While you're listening to the station, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. If you missed a guest, a feature, or something crazy that happened from earlier, we've got you covered. Download the free Odyssey app. Search 97.3 The Fan and tap earlier today to get started. We're going to have an NFL Draft React segment next. Braden, if you missed it, was on with Chris Ello, Matt Scraby yesterday, 4 hours covering the first round of the NFL Draft. Can't do that tonight, Padres baseball. Who would want to be on for the second and third rounds anyways? I mean,
First round's perfect for us since we don't have a team. Like, if we had a team, it'd be a lot different. We'd probably be spending a lot of time on the NFL Draft, but we don't have a team anymore, so first round's perfect. Talk about what's going on in the NFL, check some boxes, call it a day.
yeah.
Move on.
So we'll get Braden's reaction in our favorite Braden's football segment. That's coming up after we wrap here talking some Padres. Wanted to go through the notebook on just a couple of things. This one's real quick. Remember what we talked about all last week? Xander
No.
Bogaerts.
Yes.
I get asked that question a lot, huh?
Yeah.
Do you remember? And the answer
Nope.
is nope.
Not a clue.
Member, you member.
Remember when
Get the-
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
You could be like, remember an hour ago, and I'd be like,
We need
okay,
to get the
vaguely.
member berries from South Park as a drop on the show.
So
Member, you member.
a week ago, everyone talked about Xander Bogaerts because Xander Bogaerts was doing terrible. So I just wanted to let you know that over the last 7 games, Xander Bogaerts is hitting 300. He's hitting 300.
Great news for Xander Bogaerts.
364 on base percentage, 433 slug. That's a 797 OPS. It's not exactly to his career average, but the point is, just like 2 weeks ago with Manny, it was stay tuned, he'll get hot. With Xander, he told us, he literally said, I've got a mechanical issue. I'm closing myself off. I'm grounding everything to the left side. I can't get the ball to the opposite field. And then he made a change last Sunday, and he went to a toe tap instead of going to a full-on leg kick. And now he's 9 for his last 30.
And he's also a player, I want to point out, I was watching him during the slump. He would go 0 for 4 in a game, and he would be on the front rail cheering up this team as if he had just hit a home run and went 2 for 3 and had a walk. And, like he never, an example of someone who just did not go to the back of the clubhouse, sulk and pout, or the back of the dugout, rather. He stood on that front rail and just like cheered his team on through that entire slump. I am a little concerned with what Kevin Acee wrote in the Padres newsletter this morning about Xander Bogaerts and his hip. And I start to look at that thing that happened, the switch with Ha-Seong Kim. They both got off to rough starts this season. Hopefully that's turning around, and maybe that was a little bit of them switching positions, but also for Xander Bogaerts and his hip and credit him again for his honesty. I start to look at that and I go, man, was it worth it? Is it worth it to have switched those positions? Are you getting enough of a difference there? And we'll know by the end of the season. I know Ha-Seong Kim's had some errors. Xander Bogaerts is a little bit having a problem with turning to the right there. And I'm sure some of that will smooth out. But I just wonder if incrementally, if it's going to be enough.
Yeah.
Not to question their decisions, but, I am questioning that decision a little bit. I think, I get it, especially for the team. You want to put your elite guy at the elite position. You want to steal whatever outs you can. You want to be able to make those outs. To start this season, the jury's out for me a little bit, but maybe by summer or a month or two into it, I'll be like, you know what? I really see this. I really get this.
I think it's a fair point. I think it's a very fair point.
If hopefully his hip though is okay.
Well, also
Hips don't lie. Hopefully his hips don't lie.
right.
Yeah.
Matt Kemp famously said, Xander's one of the most honest ball players I've ever met.
But he's also he is, when you think about it, he is being asked to make a change also mechanically at that defensive position that because you're playing in a game every night, you're forcing it. You don't have the luxury of working on your mechanics like you would maybe over an off season or something like that. You have to make those plays. So you're going to do whatever you can to make them. And so, he is right. Sometimes honest, more honest than other guys for sure. But I understand what he's saying about you don't have the luxury that you would have in the off season to work on those mechanics the way you would like to.
So then we need to, because you brought that up, we need to go back and just note it now today for the listeners that are listening now today that the Padres had the opportunity to tell Xander Bogaerts he would move to second base when Mike Schilt went to Aruba. They had the opportunity for months, and the reason that they did not do that is because A.J. Preller had a fire burning on the back burner.
We don't know that. We don't know for sure why they didn't tell him, do we?
Well,
you presume you're.
A.J. Preller is never going to say, well, by the way, the reason we didn't go until the first day of spring training is because I was trying to trade Ha-Sung Kim or thinking about trading Ha-Sung Kim, and I needed to keep my options open, because A.J. Preller doesn't talk like that.
Well, I can't say for sure what A.J. Preller was or wasn't doing, but the assumption is, Craig,
Yes.
is that
they were keeping the option of trading Ha-Sung Kim alive.
yeah.
And so they weren't going to make the position change until probably Florida or Miami definitively said no to some Luis Arias trade. Because we have had reporting that there was a potential Luis Arias trade that did involve Ha-Sung Kim this offseason. So, because remember when the Arias stuff came out? Part of that reporting was this was an ongoing discussion that took place through the winter. So I don't think it's a presumption in a way. I think it's more of like taking these puzzle pieces and putting them together and going, okay, the reason they did, why wouldn't they? Because otherwise we can sit here and go, this is malpractice by the Padres. Why didn't they ask Xander Bogaerts in December if they knew he was going to change positions on the first day of spring training?
I mean, I don't know. There could be an option, what you just mentioned, and there could be other options as well. I truly don't know, but it's fair to wonder that for sure. But the point, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they told him at the beginning of spring training.
They did. So, right. I look at these things and I just, okay, this,
I
put
get
it
that.
together.
I just can't say for sure. I can't say for certain.
Right. And AJ will never say. I mean, he would say maybe if you were standing alone behind the dugout, with no camera or microphone anywhere near. But you're never going to get that in public. So I'm completely comfortable putting the two tea leaves next to each other inside the bottom of the cup and going, yep, okay, this looks like that. Okay, continuing through the notebook, there are marginal questions and decisions to be made at the bottom of a roster every day during the season, every single day. And I think right now there's a couple that stand out to me. Graham Pauley was recalled a week ago. He's played 2 games. He went 0-for-6 in those 2 games. And then he is not started against 2 consecutive right-handed pitchers. Why is Graham Pauley here? If he's not going to play and you don't trust his glove, you're unwilling to put him in the infield, you're unwilling to put him in the outfield, and you're unwilling to play him at DH, there's got to be somebody in the organization that can fill that spot on the roster better than Graham Pauley today. No knock on the kid. We hope he has a great career. I'm talking about today and the modern 2024 Padres and what they need.
Yeah, Graham Pauley, it's very puzzling. You're right. I mean, I think that Mike Schilt also just feels comfortable going to Tyler Wade or going to Rosario. Like that's, as you know, like a manager or coach, like you earn their trust or you earn their comfort. And that's not a knock on Graham Pauley. He really hasn't been given a shot to earn that. And part of that is he's trying to figure out his way in the big leagues here, And so I agree with you. You got to figure out a way what you're going to do with him here and let him thrive in whatever that is, or at least find some growth in that.
Yes. Randy Vasquez got the second of 3 potential. It's not impossible for you to come back in terms of the technicalities of when he went on the injured list and when he can come off. It's not impossible for you to come back and make his next start 4 days from now. I believe he could be released from the injured list the day before. But if he doesn't make that start, if it's a third start that the Padres need to cover, you comfortable with Randy Vasquez starting it again?
I think you go. Who's your other option?
Brito.
I could see them giving Brito a try. I mentioned that earlier on when Brito was having all his troubles. I mentioned that to a coach, very deep in the team, and he said, "Hey, go look at how Brito did in the rotation last year and look at how he did in the pen. And the numbers are very different. He was much better as a reliever. So, but he has worked on some of his command issues. He has, strengthened himself there. Maybe now you put him back in the rotation, you give him another shot."
The other option would be Morejon, who is stretched out about to the same length as Brito. I mean, if Brito started, honestly, you wouldn't expect him to go more than 3. probably. I mean, unless he zipped through 3 innings and 28 pitches or something. Like, you wouldn't expect him to go deeper into the game. So I think Morejon could cover a similar length of start. And neither of those is ideal. Randy Vasquez just went 3 innings, and I spent part of the 10 a.m. hour saying, don't blame Peralta. Look at the start of the game for why the Padres bullpen didn't get to the end of the game. So,
and he had an okay first start, Randy Vasquez.
Yeah, he got through 5.
Right.
It's a decision on the margin. It's a decision on the margin. There's not an obvious, clear-cut, easy answer. The third of these, before we break, is the last guy in the bullpen. And, I know for a fact our 1 p.m. guest, John Pakota from Pods Above Replacement, is going to come on and talk a little about Jeremiah Estrada, who continues to dominate at the AAA level. AAA isn't the big leagues. He could come up here and walk the bases loaded on 13 pitches. I completely get that. Stephen Kolek, if you don't want him on the team, you have to offer him back to the Mariners for $25,000. I get that too. But we're still staring at that same kind of stubborn spot, Annie, of who's the next righty reliever after Suarez and De Los Santos. And right now, it's tough sledding. I feel like the Padres need an upgrade there.
Estrada, I know you've been on the Estrada train. I think he is looking like their best option if you're going to call someone up, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure. They obviously see something in Kolek. And they obviously see something in the guys that they have. And maybe you also are trying to buy a little bit of time here. If you are going to let someone go or have to DFA them or let go of them, you're trying to ride out as long as you can. But I know that they do like Kolek's stuff. And there is stuff to like about Kolek, So there's a reason that they haven't brought up Estrada yet. But it is good to know, I guess, that there's a guy down in the minors that's really doing a great job. And that you probably would feel as comfortable as anybody if you've got to bring him up.
8 2/3 innings, 20 strikeouts. I mean, that seems pretty good.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He's striking out over 2 per inning right now in the minor leagues with a 0.81 whip in El Paso, the place where we usually look at guys with 8 ERAs and a walking inning and go, know, it's El Paso, no big deal. So he is standing out right now as a power option. And I just am thinking about tonight, and I'm thinking about Nick Castellanos, and I'm thinking about JT Realmuto, and kind of the studs in the lineup for the Phillies. And if we have a big right-handed situation coming up today, and De Los Santos got 4 outs yesterday and wouldn't be fresh as a daisy today, I kind of think I'd want Estrada in the pen tonight for a big spot.
Maybe there'll be a roster move. If there is, so who would you? But if you can either let go of Kolek and then you lose him forever,
right?
Or I guess you could send someone down to the minors, but I'm not sure what everyone's option situation is, and I'm not sure that you'd do that either. So you're probably looking at if Estrada's coming up, you're looking at maybe Kolek leaving.
The other option you could do is if behind the scenes the decision tree has dropped the leaf that Yu Darvish is ready to go, like his last workout was great. His last bullpen was great. His neck feels fine. He's totally ready to rumble, but you don't want to announce that yet. Then you could send down Vasquez. You could just send him back down.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Call up Estrada.
Right, absolutely.
And then,
yes.
Once the Darvish move happens, now you've got to make another roster move. And that could just kick the Kolek can another, 4 days down the road.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine that they're thinking about all these things because, absolutely, you can use that a little bit to your advantage in terms of just trying to mix and match to get through these certain series and then getting the guy back when you need him.
Bogarts is doing better. 5th starter question, last reliever question, last spot on the bench question. Your Padres notebook inside your deep dive for a Friday. When we come back, what were the Falcons doing last night?
Oh, that's what were the Falcons doing last night.
So many people, I almost want the video. So many people told me that their ultimate entertainment from Thursday evening was not the selection of Michael Penix Jr., but Braden's reaction on the video to Michael Penix Jr. So we'll get Braden's football segment when we come back. Andy and Elsten on the Fan. All right, let's get into it. 11:46. Yesterday, first round of the NFL draft. We had our boys on the air. Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, and Braden Soprenet with our NFL first-round draft coverage. And time for a Braden's football segment to distill the key takeaways from the first round last night.
Yeah, wait for the music to fire up here. But main takeaway, obviously, the biggest talking point is what in the world are Adam Klug's Atlanta Falcons doing
What are they
with
doing?
their pick? I didn't understand it at all. I never figured it out yesterday. And, Chris kept scrolling through Twitter going, there's got to be an answer here somewhere. There's got to be somebody that's explaining why this is a good idea. And I couldn't put it together. I mean, the only thing I could say to try to, give him the benefit of the doubt is they want somebody to learn under Kirk Cousins, I guess. But you drafted a guy that's 24 years old. Who, by the way, has had a season-ending injury 4 years in college.
And you gave Kirk Cousins the 4-year contract, right?
Right. You gave him a 4-year contract.
$100
now,
million.
Only 2 of the years are guaranteed. So
$180 million.
$180 million. And then you didn't tell him that you're potentially going to draft the quarterback until 2 minutes before you draft the quarterback.
That was another problem.
Which is another issue.
He didn't even know.
Right. He didn't even know. I mean, he probably wouldn't have signed the deal. They're already under investigation for tampering to get Kirk Cousins there before everybody else had a chance to get Kirk Cousins. I mean, the more you unpack this, the more it doesn't make any sense of what they're doing down in Atlanta. They needed defensive players. I'm not a big draft for need guy. Always draft the best available, especially the first couple of rounds. But nobody drafted any defenders yet. And you go and you draft Michael Penix Jr. And then the other thing we thought of is maybe they're going to trade him to the Raiders or something like that.
Right.
And
Or the
Eli
Vikings
Manning
or anyone.
Phillip Rivers deal, right? But that wasn't the case either. And then in the press conference, they're like, yeah, it'd be great to have him learn under Kirk Cousins. He might sit 4 or 5 years. You're going to burn his rookie deal not playing and then have him play when he's 29, 30 years old? He's torn his ACL twice. The same ACL twice. He's had 4 season-ending injuries. And this is not a knock on Michael Penix, but I don't know what the Falcons were doing.
Well, you know where he's not going to tear his ACL?
On the bench.
On the bench.
That's a fact.
Holding the iPad and the
Fact.
headset. He's going to be perfectly healthy for that.
But you're already creating a dynamic that doesn't make any sense. Look, I'm a big draft lineman early as much as you can. To me, where it makes sense to draft wide receivers is late first round. Those are teams that are usually one guy away, one playmaker away. I'm surprised at the amount of offensive players that were picked in the first round. I know it was an offensive-heavy draft, but so many offensive players, so many wide receivers, but 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks is absolutely absurd, especially after the top 3, it really falls off at quarterback.
So, right, the top 3 picks were all quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams going 1 to the Bears. I think everyone expected that. Right, Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman Trophy at LSU, going 2nd to the Commanders. That made sense. You told us on the Braden's football segment back on Wednesday that Drake May and the Patriots had been circling one another. But I'll tell you what, I'm sure you guys were watching it too when they at the gym when they had the ESPN broadcast up and they filed through the graphics of all the other times that quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. Did you guys see that? It was every single time it was one decent quarterback and everyone else is terrible. Complete busts. I wonder who's going to be the complete busts out of this.
I also saw that Caleb Williams broke the Fanatics record for draft night merchandise sales for any draft pick in any sport.
He beat Caitlin Clark.
Beat Clayton Clark, right. I mean, yeah.
I don't know what the Bears are doing either. I mean, we talked about this before. They need linemen. They didn't draft any in the first round. They want the sexy picks. They want the Caleb. I think it'd be hard to pass up Caleb Williams, but I think there's a lot of pressure on the National Football League teams that don't want to. They worry about what the media says, and the media loves to hype up quarterbacks and wide receivers. I mean, look at last year. Bryce Young shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but it was he was the best player in college. They have to draft him, and Carolina drafted him, and the entire time so they're going he's 6 feet tall. They have no line. He's going to get killed. And what did he do this year? He got killed. And the best quarterback of the draft was C.J. Stroud, which is what we talked about before. But The quarterbacks, I still think Drake May's probably the best quarterback out of the group. Jaden Daniels is a close second. We'll see what Caleb Williams' makeup is in an organization that's not very good. But I thought those top 3 picks were chalk. I knew Arizona was going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, that's another team that has so many issues and so many problems. And you know what? One of their issues shouldn't have been addressed is receiver. You still need to figure out how Kyler Murray can get him the ball when he's running for his life. So we'll see what the Cardinals do. I did like their pick later on when they took a defensive end and Darius Robinson, which I think a lot of people thought the Lions would take, but kind of chalk away through. I love the Chargers pick. Chargers fans hated the pick. I love that pick.
I thought they had the best
tackle.
pick. I thought they did the best of anyone in the draft.
You go on Twitter, and all the Padres fans that are still Charger fans are upset they didn't take a receiver. And what? Don't. Stop. They need linemen. Justin Herbert is your product.
Right.
He is what you invested on. Keep him upright. Build from the trenches out. That's what the Niners did. They've had success. Chiefs have done that. You don't need a receiver in the top 5 picks. Get the best lineman. It's going to work out for you. I loved it. They're like, oh, you could have had Neighbors. You could have. No, BS. Draft linemen. Linemen are the key to success in the National Football League.
I couldn't agree more. I was so disappointed, Annie, when I saw Joe Alt get picked because I'm like, that's literally the perfect pick for the Chargers.
Very responsible pick.
I thought it was either going to be him or Latham, to be honest. But they're both offensive tackles. The Penix Jr. one was weird. Denver drafting Bo Nix, who is Zach Wilson's twin. I mean, are you kidding me? Have you seen those guys next to each other? They're like spitting image. They're like the same player.
Oh, silly Broncos.
Somebody on Twitter was like, Sean Payton's got a type. I mean, why? You had Jared Stidham. You just traded for Zach Wilson. I mean, it's like, what do you need Bo Nix for? Is he going to be the savior of the franchise? I can't believe it.
A couple of those franchises sunk themselves for the next 4 years.
100%.
They just don't know it yet.
Right, exactly.
100%. I mean, I love our guy up in Minnesota, the San Diego State Aztec. That's O'Connell. I mean, but it's like, really?
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy? That's your guy? I don't see it. I don't see it with the sexy picks. I mean, there's so many other things that they could have done instead of that. But obviously, they needed a quarterback. They went and got a quarterback. I like the Brock Bowers pick for the Raiders, especially since all the quarterbacks were taken. I don't mind that. And I said it last night because people were like, well, they already have, the kid that they drafted. I think, was it Murphy? The kid they drafted last year from Notre Dame is already a tight end. 2 tight end sets are hard to deal with from a defensive standpoint. And you got Brock Bowers, I thought, could be a top 10 draft pick if it wasn't for him taking a picture next to Gronkowski, making him look really small. But the guy can block. He's an electric player in the passing game. And if you got him next to the first-round tight end or the second-round tight end that they drafted last year and just the different sets with Devontae Adams lined up out wide, that's difficult for defenses because you have to worry about every gap being covered, and then you got to worry about Devontae Adams outside. Think about the Patriots when they had Gronkowski and Hernandez. That was tough. That's hard to stop. You can't. When you got 2 athletic tight ends, it's tough. It's very difficult to deal with. Throw in a top receiver, Devontae Adams. They got a lot of opportunities to move the ball down there in Vegas. The problem is they don't have anybody throwing with the football. That's kind of a major problem. But we talked about it yesterday and kind of talking about the chart. Tom Telesco does a good job drafting, and that's his first draft pick with the Raiders. He drafts all pros and Pro Bowlers all the time. I think that was a good pick for them. I like that pick. I liked Philadelphia's pick, the Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, fit an obvious need. I think that's going to improve their defense. And love the offensive tackles going off the board. Heavy offensive tackle draft this year, and everybody's taking a lot of tackles getting taken in the first round. You love to see it.
Yeah, it's an overlooked position. You got to have the guys in the trenches, and you don't have an offense if you don't have that. So
yeah, you can't move the ball. As much as it's fun to have all these top receivers, right, and the big-time quarterback, if the guy's on his ass every 2 plays, it doesn't even matter, right? You need to have. And here's my take on receivers. I don't like drafting receivers in the first round. Go back for the last 5 drafts and see the receivers taking the first round. There's guys in there that you didn't even heard of before because they never made it. Receivers are a dime a dozen. I can get guys open with scheme, but I can't necessarily keep guys protected with scheme when it comes to blocking.
I would have taken the LSU kid over Harrison. He looks like the next Tyreek Hill.
He looked pretty good. I like
Rome
Odunze too. I thought he was pretty solid. Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a pedigree pick right there.
There it is, Braden's football segment. You know what? Monday on the show, we'll get Braden's reaction to the entire draft.
Hey.
Draft grades.
Draft grades. I mean,
I
maybe a
also
couple.
thought I enjoyed watching Bill Belichick for the draft coverage.
Yeah.
Sports Fix next. It's Friday. It's the lunchtime hour. You are either off work already or you have mentally, totally checked out. And we are here to take care of you on Annie and Elsten with Annie Heilbrunn, with Braden Soprano, Craig Elsten here with you for 2 more hours before Gwen and Chris take over. It's a busy one. It's the weekend preview version. Let's get to the fix. All the news that's fit to speak. Local, regional, national, and with an eye toward the weekend that will be. Let's get to it. Let's get things started with Annie and the baseball beat.
The Orioles announced today that they have optioned infielder Jackson Holliday to AAA. His roster spot will go to outfielder Ryan McKenna, whose contract has been selected. Holliday was the #1 overall pick in the 2022 amateur draft. He was called up earlier this season, but he's had 2 hits in 36 plate appearances. An .059 batting average. It has not gone well, so back to the minors he goes. To select the contract of veteran outfielder Tommy Pham, fellow outfielder Kevin Pillar will be designated for assignment. Pham has an out clause in his minor league contract that he could exercise if he was not added to the roster heading into this weekend. He'll earn a prorated $3 million on his deal with the Southsiders. The White Sox are 3-22 to start the season. The hits keep coming from the Miami Marlins. The Marlins announced Friday that lefty Jesus Luzardo has been scratched from his scheduled start today. He will instead undergo testing on his left elbow. The 26-year-old southpaw experienced discomfort in his most recent bullpen session. The Padres blew a 9-4 lead in the 8th inning yesterday to lose to the Rockies 10-9 and split the 4-game series in Colorado. They are back in town today, still in the midst of a 13-game stretch. They take on the Phillies for the first of 3 tonight. It will be Joe Musgrove versus Aaron Nola for the Phillies. Should be a great game. First pitch at 6:40. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at 5:40. And now I am going to rip through some of the scores from yesterday in the American League. The Guardians beat the Boston Red Sox. The Twins beat the White Sox. Shocker there. The Royals beat the Blue Jays. Mariners over the Rangers. And the Athletics over the Yankees 3-1. That was a split. Wow, that was a split.
Yeah. Split in 4 games.
There you
Don't
go.
mess with the A's.
There you go. Okay, Athletics are coming to play too. Interleague, the Cubs beat the Houston Astros 3-1. That was a sweep. Man, the Astros are in they are just spiraling.
Bad times in Houston.
Yes, good Lord. Okay, the Brewers over the Pirates. That was also a split. The Philadelphias beat the Reds. Colorado Rockies beat the Padres 10-9. That was a split as well. And the Dodgers beat the Nationals 2-1. They swept the Nationals. The Dodgers did. Coming up this weekend, the Royals at the Tigers. Braden, am I reading this all right?
They're
Okay.
up 1-0 right now in the
they're
bottom
up
of the
1-0.
8th inning.
Perfect.
How about that?
They've already started. For some reason, Detroit's playing a lot of just day.
They
random
turned
days.
off the lights. They didn't want to pay for the lights
Yeah, they're
anymore.
done. Yeah, exactly.
Going Wrigley style.
Just like the Arizona Cardinals make their draft picks, make their players pay for their own laundry.
Yes, exactly.
The Tigers can't afford to pay the lights anymore.
All right, the A's are at the Orioles, the Rays are at the White Sox tonight, and Minnesota Twins are at the Angels. And for interleague play, let's see, Los Angeles Dodgers at the Blue Jays. That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
The Cubs at the Red Sox, the Guardians at the Braves. Cincinnati Reds will take on the Texas Rangers this weekend. The Yankees are at the Brewers, and the Diamondbacks are heading out to face the Mariners. That'll be a good one, too.
Jake in the chat says the reason they're playing early is to clear space for the draft in Detroit.
That makes
today.
sense today,
Oh.
but why did they play 3 day games against the Rangers last week? To set up the draft?
Yeah, setting up the draft. Trying to get that stage ready.
That's right.
The St. Louis Cardinals 11-14. They will take on the New York Mets in New York. The Mets 13-11 right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Washington Nationals 10-14. They're taking on the Miami Marlins, who are 6-20. That'll be an interesting series, I guess, for 2 teams that are. The Miami Marlins are in a worse situation. The Phillies are at the Padres, as we've talked about. First pitch is at 6:40 p.m. tonight at Petco Park. The Pirates will take on the Giants in San Francisco at 7:15 p.m. tonight. That's a good matchup, too. The Pirates right now 13-13, although they always seem to get off to good starts to start the season.
That'll do it.
Baseball.
Baseball.
All right. Next. Is that me or is it you?
I don't know.
Am I next?
You can go next, or do you want me to talk about the NFL?
Talk about the NFL.
All right, my turn.
Woo!
It's a Friday show.
I got some NFL stuff,
Yeah.
music. I just got to wait for it to
I
play
got
a
so
little
mixed
bit.
up. I forgot. I just always expect Danny to be followed by Braden.
Couple of things in the National Football League. One of them being the ideal schedule according to Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday. He said that he is trying to get to a point where they have 18 regular season games by extending the schedule by 1 week. Super Bowl Sunday to coincide with a 3-day weekend, and the following Monday is President's Day, so everybody has the day off after
Oh my
Super
God! So
Bowl
all the way to the
Sunday.
middle of February.
And only 2 preseason games. He said that is the ideal NFL schedule that we are trying for. So
Wow.
2 preseason games, 18 regular season games, playoffs through where the Super Bowl Sunday is on a 3-day weekend, so people can have Monday off after Super Bowl Sunday.
What?
Dream on, dreamer. Life gets in your way.
I don't really mind that too much.
They're gonna end up probably doing it. It's just so weird. I remember, the Super Bowl would be the end of January, and you would wrap it up.
Yeah.
And now, you're going into the middle of February.
Week 18 of the NFL sounds like a lot.
You're gonna have to make some concessions for the players.
Yeah,
for
making the players
injuries
play
and-
that many games is absolutely
Right.
absurd.
And then you still have your Monday night games. You still have your Thursday night games.
Oh, yeah,
like-
there ain't changing those.
Right,
I
that's
can't
their
wait for.
moneymakers.
They're going to have Wednesday and Tuesday night MACtion games, too. I mean, you just never know.
Wow.
Yep.
I do like the Super Bowl ending on a 3-day weekend, though. It's kind of nice. I don't necessarily know if I need the 18 games, per se, but interesting comments from Roger Goodell and the NFL. Usually when he says something like that, it ends up coming true
Oh,
within
for
the next
sure.
couple of years. This is probably in the works.
They've probably talked about it for 3 years before this.
Now, I'm going to play a video for you. It's very interesting and here's the context. So, there's it's called the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill in Carolina. And they put up a sign that says, please let the coach and GM pick this year. Taking a shot at the owner of the Panthers, David Tepper.
Having some fun, though.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what the context is. So it's a 49-second video, so I'm going to start playing as I describe it. So in this video, David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, stops by to ask who wrote the sign outside saying, please let the coach and GM pick this year. At some point, you see him removing the manager's hat, which was what happens to be an Eagles hat, and seems to be raising hell in this restaurant for the sign outside taking a shot at him. So as you can tell by this video that I'm playing in front of you, Annie and Elsten,
Wait, so-
isn't this kind of ridiculous?
Did he walk in and say, hello, petty party of 2?
Or like it wasn't this didn't come out where it was like a fun thing, like it was supposed to be he was having
He's
fun
not
with
having
them.
fun.
He's not having fun.
I was expecting it to be like like we're gonna have fun with it. But no, they're not.
No.
The owner of the here's the full article according to
Yeah, I thought it was a bit, is what I'm trying to say.
WBTV.com or WBD-TV in Charlotte. The owner of Dilworth Neighborhood Grill often changes the sign in front of their building to send different messages. This week, it has a simple plea seemingly directed toward Tepper. Please let the coach and general manager pick this year. Matt Woolharf, the owner, shared surveillance footage with WTBV showing David Tepper paying the restaurant a visit Thursday night. The footage shows Tepper walk in and ask who is responsible for the sign. Woolharf, who was not there at the time, was the mastermind behind the sign. In the video, Tepper talks to the manager and takes his hat off. Woolharth said it was because of his Eagles hat. Tepper can be seen laughing in the video. The manager said he was pleasant about the whole situation. Woolharth said Tepper was on his way to watch the draft when he saw the sign, although it has been up all week. He said he wishes he had been there to invite Tepper to stay a while, have a beer and a candid conversation. I do need him to be more of an owner and less of a coach or GM, Woolharth said. WBTV's Caroline Hicks asked him if he stands behind the sign. I do, he said. Everything I've heard this year leads me to believe that he is taking that to heart. I just want to make sure.
I mean, they shook hands at the end of it, and he walked out.
Yes, it's fine. Look,
Yep.
it's fine, but
Never take someone's hat off.
when you're a
Never take
billionaire,
someone's hat
That's
off.
really
Yeah.
true. The last where he
me
crossed the
too.
line.
Me too. That is a
disrespectful.
microaggression that
Right.
is such. It's just so
You're asking for
class embedded. Like, I'm a billionaire. Who are you, little manager? Oh, I don't like your hat. I'm going to take it off. I have that ability. I am the big boy. I can take off your clothing if I feel like it because I don't like what logo is on it.
Don't
That's the
invade
part.
someone's personal space like
Yeah.
that.
That's the part. Is like if I was the manager, I'd be
Yeah.
like, dude, don't touch me. Come on now, don't
Yeah.
take
Right,
off my
don't-
hat either.
Yeah.
Right.
We're
I'm
we're
not your
doing that.
property. You don't
And
get
he
to
can
dress
put
me.
anything he wants on his restaurant.
And that's not even the guy
Yeah.
that put the sign up. That's just the
Right.
manager.
Right.
Like that's the other thing too. Like if I was him, I'm like, I'm not getting paid enough to deal with this
How
guy.
pathetic of an owner are you that you're walking down the street and you see that sign and you walk in?
Now, if you do it in fun, I think it's funny. Like
He
if
could
you're
have
like,
done
hey,
it. He could have
I'm-
done
you
it in
know,
a fun way. I agree.
Then it's kind of like, okay, then it's like it becomes a little funny moment.
Yeah, if
you
he
know?
bought around for the bar or something,
Right.
something other
Right.
than walking in, taking off the manager's
Taking
hat.
off his hat.
And,
Ugh.
like literally, you can't see the video if you're on the radio, but like off the top, like the little button on the top of the cap. Like,
Yeah.
he reached from the top of the cap and just like whoop, lifted it off his head.
They're joking on
It's
the way
ridiculous.
out, but on the way in, it was just like, yeah, it's a little too much for me.
Same.
But that's it for
gross.
the National Football League.
Okay.
Craig.
Here we go. Are you ready to dig in? It is your NBA, NHL arena rundown for the weekend preview. Let's start it off. In the National Basketball Association, last night in the NBA playoffs, the Philadelphia 76ers came back at home to beat the New York Knicks 125-114 behind 50 points from Joel Embiid. I don't know if you guys saw this. Knicks fans were furious. They thought Embiid should have been ejected from the game in the first half. He committed 2 major fouls, one of which was a flagrant one. The other, he was sitting on, he got knocked down, right? But he is sitting his butt on the court in the paint as Robinson of New York is going up for the rebound, and Joel grabs him by the legs from a seated position. If it was a little hard, pulled him down over his
Yeah.
body, like
Yikes.
serious injury possibility, he was given a common foul for that. A lot of NBA experts said if it was anyone but Joel Embiid, or if it happened to Joel Embiid, that player would have been ejected.
Way worse.
So Embiid wasn't ejected, and then he went for 50 and beat the Knicks 125-114. Knicks still lead the series 2-1, game 4 from the Garden on Sunday. Yesterday's other NBA playoff game saw the Orlando Magic, one of two, saw the Orlando Magic conjure up their missing offense at home, erupting for a 121-83 win over Cleveland. 121-83. That's the biggest playoff loss in Cleveland Cavaliers history. Paolo Banchero had 31 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists in just 29 minutes. For the Magic, home team has won all 3 games in the series. Cavs up 2-1, Game 4, Saturday morning on NBA TV.
How did the Lakers do?
And then there are the Lakers. The Lakers,
It's just
once
basketball,
again,
Craig.
Yes,
It's just basketball.
once again, the Lakers, channeling Sisyphus, tried to push the boulder up the hill. The boulder has a Denver Nuggets logo on the top of it. They thought they got to the top of the hill, and then they wound up at the bottom of the hill with
Crushed
the rock
by
crushing
the rock.
them. LA played as hard as they possibly could for as long as they could, and then the Nuggets went, okay, we win.
Our turn.
112-105 Nugs behind 24 points, 15 rebounds, 9 assists from Nikola Jokic. Denver beat LA for the 11th straight time, took a 3-0 lead in the series. They will beat them for the 12th straight time on Saturday.
It's just
when they will
basketball.
wrap up the series.
It's just basketball.
It is. Today
They've moved on.
and tonight, must-win game for Phoenix. This isn't a much-win. This is a must-win for Phoenix. The Suns host Minnesota down 2-0 in the series. They've got to take Game 3. The Pacers host the Bucks. The Mavericks host the Clippers. Both of those series tied at 1. Let's go to the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. The Florida Panthers are 1 game from a first-round sweep after they took care of Tampa Bay on road ice last night, 5-3. Florida now with a commanding 3-0 series lead. Same story with the Carolina Hurricanes. They took down the New York Islanders 3-2 on the road for a 3-0 series lead. 4 playoff games on the ice tonight. LA Kings are at Staples Center, home to host Edmonton. They are tied in their series 1-1. Huge win for the Kings in Game 2. We had no sports fix that day. Also tied 1-1, Nashville Predators host Vancouver, while Colorado hosts Winnipeg. Last but not least, New York Mikes, New York Rangers look to go 3-0. They are in our nation's capital, taking on Washington in D.C. We wrap with the Arena Report. The San Diego Mojo hosts the Vegas Thrill tonight, 7 p.m. at Viejas Arena. Gotta love where the Mojo are going, Annie. After an 0-3 start to the season, Mojo could get to 500 with a win tonight over last place Vegas.
Okay, so they're not facing their nemesis,
Right.
who was
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
They went
Okay.
0-4 against
Okay,
Atlanta.
I wonder if Adam is super into
Atlanta vibe?
Atlanta vibe.
You know, the way
Yeah.
the Falcons are going,
It's possible now.
I would strongly suggest that Adam Klug gets into Atlanta vibe.
He turns his passions there.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
might want to get a championship.
Says no.
If you want to celebrate a championship, you might want to feel
Okay.
the vibe.
I don't feel
But
bad.
the
He's got the
Mojo
Georgia
is in
Bulldogs
Vegas.
and the Atlanta Braves. He's fine.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
true.
right. Playoff disappointment in the Braves. It's just like that meme of the shaking of the hands.
Yeah.
that's playoff disappointment of the Atlanta Braves for you. Okay, so that's the Mojo. That's 7 o'clock tonight at Viejas Arena. I've got half a mind to go to that game tonight. I'm probably going to the Padres, but I've got half a mind to go.
What if you go to both? Can you make both happen, Craig?
I wouldn't be at the Padres very long.
Oh, okay. Well, what if would it be a situation where, like, if the Padres are, if they're at a certain
if-
score by a certain inning,
So
you're
if
like,
Joe
I'm
has
out.
a crap
Yeah.
start to the game, I'm just like, out of
No,
here,
no.
Mojo time.
Can't put that on Joe. No,
Soto
exactly.
Mojo.
Why don't you give your tickets away for another? Oh, you don't have it. Okay, you're just making a decision here. You
Yeah,
don't
I'm
have
just,
to-
I'm just saying,
yeah.
I like the Mojo, and I hope some people go to the game, is what I'm saying.
Wonderful. Yeah.
They have had nothing but like Sunday afternoon and Monday night and
Oh, so
Tuesday
they have,
night
like, a
games.
fun Friday night
They got a
game.
Friday night game. This is
Go-
like the second
yeah.
time they've actually had a decent weekend time at Viejas
Well, this
Arena.
is good. I mean, look, not everyone will be going to the Padres game tonight. They have another option. Go to the Mojo game. Check it out. It's a fun atmosphere.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, legitimately, it's really good. It's very, very entertaining. Last but not least, the San Diego Seals. Win or go home tomorrow night at Pechanga Arena when they host Panther Bay Lacrosse Club in the National Lacrosse League quarterfinals. It's a single elimination game. NLL is funky. Semifinals are best of 3. Final is best of 3. Quarterfinal is best of 1. So, little randomness in the round of 8. 7:05 p.m. face-off on Saturday night, tomorrow night. Go Seals, go Mojo. Now, I go back to Braden for college and high school.
College and high school sports. Do want to mention Scripps Ranch native Thatcher Demko will not be in net tonight for Vancouver. He is the starting goalie for the Vancouver Canucks.
what's the matter
San
with,
Diego
Demko?
product. He's been out for a while. Sounds week to week. I was told a couple months ago that the second round of the playoffs is when he should be back. So
they
if
gotta
they
make
are able to knock off the Predators, then their starting netminder will be back at Thatcher Demko against San Diego product from Scripps Ranch High School. That's it for the added hockey stuff.
I was going to say that's it for the.
And that's
For
your
the
college and high
report,
school
yeah.
No,
it's like,
report.
we got a lot to report
Back
on
to you,
college
Craig.
sports. Here's something very interesting. The University of St. Catherine in San Marcos will now cease all employment and are now terminating everybody there because they are closing their school.
So the school is shutting
The
down
school is
immediately.
shutting down. So according to the email, this is the email that everybody received from St. Catherine at 4 o'clock yesterday. It is with deep regret that I inform you that the University of St. Catherine will cease all employment as of April 25th, 2024. St. Catherine can no longer meet its financial obligations because of a steep shortfall in operating cash. Multiple reasons for the shortfall include extraordinary inflation, higher than anticipated salary increases, and high institutional student financial aid. The same factors have resulted in the closure of many small colleges and universities across the country. The board and I have vigorously explored multiple options that might allow us to continue. Unfortunately, none of these has proven viable. The university is filing for bankruptcy protection. As this is being worked through, we will continue to pursue and consider any opportunity we can identify. So no more St. Catherine's, right? As of effective immediately.
Pour one out for St. Catherine's.
Yesterday, obviously, feel bad for all of the athletic programs there. They did have some programs that were competing. Beach volleyball is currently competing in the NAIA National Invitational. They will continue to do that. They're excited about the opportunity to play for a championship, a national championship this Friday and Saturday. And the USK Athletics page, St. Catherine's ST Cath Athletics on Twitter, will continue to share the accolades won by our teams that are still in spring sports. Our student athletes have worked hard this season, and we hope to provide them with recognition they deserve. So, effective immediately, St. Catherine's does not exist anymore, which is very very interesting that happened at 4 o'clock on a Thursday.
Oof.
But obviously tough news to anybody that played at St. Catherine, currently plays, all their students, faculty, everybody that has to experience that right now.
Yeah.
Obviously our thoughts are with you with that. In terms of college baseball news at the D1 level, all 3 teams are in action. 2 of them are hosting this weekend. Gonzaga is playing USD tonight for a major 3-game series between the Bulldogs and the Toreros. It's a showdown of number 1 versus number 2 in the West Coast Conference. Gonzaga has a 1-game lead and has won 10 of its last 12. USD has won 11 of their last 13. But this is also a very dangerous series for San Diego, and it's at large hopes. As of right now, San Diego is 30th in RPI, and it's in 2-seed territory for the NCAA tournament, and it's playing the conference leader at home. What an opportunity. But it's not, because Gonzaga is 118 in the RPI. That means that any loss San Diego takes this weekend is a quad 4 loss and would really ding its RPI. A loss tonight would probably send it back 5 to 10 spots. If Gonzaga wins the series, they likely would move into a top 100 of RPI, making them quad 3 losses for San Diego. But the RPI damage for the Toreros remains the same. Obviously, one of the major problems of using an RPI system. So, must win for a lot of reasons this weekend for San Diego against Gonzaga. Should be a fun one. Starts tonight at 6 o'clock. The Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii will be in La Jolla to take on UC San Diego. UC San Diego is a half game out of first place with a 3-team tie atop of the leaderboard.
Let's go
Tritons trying to defend their Big West title they won in baseball a year ago. They got 3 games against the Rainbow Warriors. They sit at 13-5 in Big West play. Hawaii is 6-9. That will start at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time in La Jolla. Aztecs are in New Mexico to take on the Lobos. They're 11-29 on the season, 5-13. The Aztecs are in conference play. Lobos right around 500, 2019 on the year, 9-9 in conference play. That game will start at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Good news in high school baseball. This happened earlier this week, but I forgot to mention it. El Camino's pitcher Zane Nordquist makes CIF San Diego section baseball history with back-to-back no-hitters. Zane Nordquist has gone 14 innings without allowing a hit, putting him 8 innings shy of the CIF San Diego section record of 22 by Jeremiah Luster of Oceanside back in 2004. So earlier this week, I think on Wednesday, when El Camino shut out Escondido, Zane Nordquist pitched a no-hitter for the second consecutive game. Pretty outstanding accomplishment for the young man.
Yeah.
Other scores throughout high school baseball. The Lancers of Carlsbad beat Del Norte last night 1-0. Torrey Pines over La Costa Canyon 2-0. The Foothillers of Grossmont beat their arch nemesis, the Helix Highlanders 5-2 last night. St. Augustine over Christian 8-6. El Camino beats Escondido 5-4. And the Valhalla fighting Annie Halbrans beat El Cap last night 3-0 over the Vaqueros in high school baseball.
They sure did.
Here's stadium and golf news with Craig.
Let's wrap things up on today's Sports Fix and let you know the San Diego Wave. San Diego Wave FC back home first time in a month.
Wow.
Wave FC has been home on the pitch at Snapdragon Stadium. They will play host to expansion side Bay FC tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. Kickoff set for just after 7 p.m. Time for the Wave to get going. They are in 10th place right now in the NWSL at 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. Bay FC 2 wins, 3 losses on the season. Here's the exciting news. Should be very exciting for everyone in the sport of women's soccer. Maria Sanchez está en casa mañana. The newest Wave acquisition. Maria Sanchez acquired in the biggest trade monetary move in the history of the NWSL, a $500,000 trade, shipping cash to Houston for Sanchez. Well, she is here. She has arrived. She arrived at the airport a couple of days ago. She's taken her promotional photos. She is wearing number 77 for the Wave. She used to wear number 7. She's wearing number 77 for the Wave. She should make her debut, whether it is starting or coming off of the bench, tomorrow night. So something very exciting. One of the U.S. Mexican team's top stars top players, Maria Sanchez, now a member of San Diego Wave FC.
Nice.
San Diego Legion are back on the road this weekend. They're taking on the Houston SaberCats in Houston. That is a 5 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. Last but not least, the PGA Tour. This is arguably the weirdest of the major tournaments. It's the Zurich Classic in New Orleans. It is a tag team tournament. Everyone pairs up. They play in twosomes.
I like it.
And then they today and Saturday, or pardon me, Thursday, Saturday, they play best ball. And then Friday, Sunday, they play alternate shot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So right now, so I had to look up the names of some of these guys because there's some pairings. I'm just like, who the hell are you?
Excuse me?
Yeah. So the current leaders are Aaron Ray and David Lipsky. They are at 13 under par, but they are in a three-way tie with Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry at 13 under, and the tag team of Brame and Hubbard, which is, I think, a law firm somewhere in South Carolina. Brame and Hubbard also at 13 under. Taryn and Skins, Taylor and Hadwin, Johnson and Palmer, Thompson and Novak are all at 12 under par. And maybe Monday I'll figure out who all these guys are. Joel Damon, if you ever watched Full Swing, he's paired up, and he is 2 shots off the lead at 11. So that's who I'm going to root for. And there it is. The longest ever.
That was a long
12 o'clock sports fix.
Got
The
everything
longest
in.
one we ever did.
Well, you got high school players throwing no-hitters. You got colleges closing. You got
Plus, we did the whole story of the NFL owner right in the middle of it.
yeah,
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
Also, like, going back to the Jackson Holiday thing, like, I think that highlights more how well Jackson Merrill's been doing.
It really
Like,
does.
Yes.
Like, a guy coming up and going back down to the minors is very common. That's typically what happens, you know, like having a hard time adjusting to big league pitchers and things like that. But I think it just really shows what Jackson Merrill has done.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's one thing to see him in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to see him in context of what everyone else is doing.
Like like you definitely, no one should be looking at Jackson Holiday like, oh God, this guy's a bust or something like that. No, Jackson Holiday is like the prototypical. That's what usually happens, or not, maybe not to the degree that he had it, but going through that kind of adjustment and having it be very tough is the typical thing that happens at some point for any rookie, you know. And so it happened for him right away. But maybe he shouldn't have been brought up as early as he was. I don't know the Orioles well enough to know that. But I think it just more highlights like what Jackson Merrill, the jump that he made, and how that's panned out so well for him because he, I guess, was more ready for it or was able to handle it.
Well, Battle of the Jacksons.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Holiday, 1 for 30, gets sent back to the minors. Jackson Churio is hitting .213 with a .264 on base percentage. And Jackson Merrill is leading baseball in road average and is hitting well over 300 and playing a dynamic center field and basically doing it all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll all hit their slumps at some point, but or like some kind of rookie wall. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see because it can always go either way.
All right, we are overdue. We got to take a timeout. We got match game coming up as well, but we have a segment in between. So let's get to it, and we'll come back with Max Scherzer saying some very interesting things about the strike zone. Annie and Elsten here with you on The Fan. All right, this is going to be a quick segment because we got to space out time for Match Game, but we just had the longest sports fix in sports fix history. So this is going to be what's called a makeup segment. Max Scherzer pitching for the Round Rock Express yesterday, making his first rehab start. He's on the way back. We got some incredibly insightful commentary from Justin Verlander when he was on the rehab trail. Now, here's Max Scherzer being asked about the automatic ball strike system that exists in the league he was playing in, but doesn't exist in Major League Baseball. And he gave some very interesting thoughts in terms of how the use of the automated strike zone could change baseball going forward.
I don't know. I'm not really a fan. I want a human back there judging the calls. I want, like that's just. It seems too weird to have a robot, calling the game. I think I threw an 0 slider and like that just felt like a ball, and then all of a sudden that's getting called a strike now. So, for me, the way I kind of, I've kind of thought about this and how we want the electronic strike zone, and I think when you talk enough guys that we want the human element of the game. The human element of the game is good. And we need to keep that in baseball. And I think we've done so much in baseball to try to remove the human element. And so for me, going forward, of how I kind of conceptualize what the electronic strike zone should be is really we need to rank the umpires. Let the electronic strike zone rank the umpires, and then we need to have a conversation about the bottom. Let's call it 10% or whatever you want to declare the bottom is, and talk about relegating those umpires to the minor leagues and getting in the best umpires in the game. That way the umpires are going against themselves. It's still a human element of how we rank the umpires, that it's amongst themselves, and that policing kind of the bottom is the way to go. When I'm out there pitching, if you told me I had the 10th best umpire or the 75th best umpire, you don't really notice too much between that because they're really good at their jobs. The umpires are actually really good. It's really the bottom umpires that we all kind of have a problem with. And so if there was a mechanism in order to make the umpires on the bottom better, I think that would be a better way to address this.
What are your thoughts on that, Annie?
So I know we have to be quick. I love it. I love his idea on that. I doubt the union, the umpire union, would ever allow something like that to happen. But I also think the umpire union, which has been so strong, needs to look at the fact that they're about to be replaced by a bunch of robots and maybe try to make concessions to keep them in the game and not have to go to the technical side of it.
Is there a way in the next negotiation to expand the reach of the union to bring some? And honestly, I'm speaking from a moment of ignorance. I don't know. Are all AAA umpires in the MLB umpires union?
Well, they rotate them up, right? Like you have like a AAA guy in every crew, right? That they bring them
generally,
up all the time.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're probably part of the same deal.
To me, get him, get Verlander, get them in a room with people who are actually going to listen, like not the eyewash thing of, tell us your thoughts, but they don't really care.
Yeah.
Right.
Get them in there and have them figure something out that is a better system. It makes so much sense to me.
I mean, realistically, we don't know for a fact that ranking isn't already occurring within the umpires union and within the guild of professional umpires, which isn't a real thing, I don't think. But you know what I'm saying. We get those umpire scorecards on Twitter every day. Like you could figure out the ranking. I'm just wondering, is there a way to raise the pay a little bit, something, expand the envelope of the people that are inside, and then say within this, you're getting this salary, you're getting this benefits, but also you're subject to promotion relegation, just like a major league player would be, where the best guys get called up and the worst guys get sent down.
Yeah, I think that could be a good way to do it, right? Or some kind of bonus system. Maybe they already have that. I really don't know. Like, I just look at like the Angel Hernandez's and where are the consequences for those kinds of bad games?
Right. I mean, tenure shouldn't determine your time.
Right.
It should be your success. And all Max Scherzer is saying is this happens to the players. Why shouldn't this happen to the umpires? Mm-hmm. Honestly, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Let's take a timeout. We've got to get set up for match game. It's time to play a fun match game to wrap up the week. So that means we need 2 contestants to give us a call and go head-to-head in our crazy, kooky, little silly game that we call Match Game. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Give us a call during the break. Braden will get you queued up, and then we'll pass out our dry erase boards, assemble our all-star panel, and be back to play the match game next. 833-288-0973. Looking for 2 contestants for match game. Give us a call during the break. We come back with more Annie and Elsten next on The Fan. I can't even pretend to hit that note. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Friday. We're getting close to the finish line here. Weekend is beckoning, and it's time to have some fun with our Silly Games segment. And today, it's time to play the match game. Are you ready to match the stars? Today, the stars are Annie, Braden, and Craig.
Womp womp.
I just took the entire circle of the Odyssey Palace. There is not another living
There's not a
soul.
soul.
Not one.
When Annie got here, do you want to describe to us what the feeling was like
It was
when you
just
got here?
completely
today?
dark, and the station has motion censored lights.
Yeah.
So no one's even walked in that vicinity because all the lights are off.
Everything was off.
Everything's off.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That was me during COVID every day by myself. up here.
Scrapes must be out to lunch. He's probably hearing this right now going, oh, I could have been on Match Game.
You could run around though and stuff like that. Like you could do a lot here.
You absolutely could.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a hot lap.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Do a hot lap.
Added a couple calories. All right, it's time to play the match game. We have two contestants on the line looking to better one or the other and earn themselves a spot, one of the last available spots in our end of the month grand prize drawing for a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and 2 tickets to see Kool and the Gang. We are joined by Caesar and by John. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Let's start with Caesar. Welcome to you, sir. Welcome to the match game.
How's it going?
It's going great. Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Engineering student at SDSU.
I love it.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. That's
See
my
if you
dad
can
was.
engineer some
Very
good
cool.
answers on the match game. You will be taking on John. John, welcome to Annie and Elsten.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, John. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Just a 24-year-old. I drive Uber.
Nice.
All right. Okay.
That's
Going for the young demographic today, Caesar and John. We appreciate you both. Now, the match game is a little bit before your time, gang. I know that. But here's what's going to happen. This game is going to be played in 2 rounds. You will each get a question, 1 question each per round. I will read the question, then Braden will play the funny little music like you're hearing. You won't say anything. We, the panelists, will write down our answer, what we think would be the best match for the question. Then we'll go back to you. You'll give us your answer, and we will see if you match. On the match game, we'll play 2 rounds, and at the end, whoever has the lead is the winner and goes in the hopper for the grand prize drawing. Does it make sense? Any questions?
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, good. Caesar, you called in first. You like that?
You like that?
You little Kirk Cousins right there. You like that? All right, here we go.
He does not like that after last night.
No. Caesar, you called in first. You're contestant 1, so I'm going to give you the option in round 1. Would you like question A or would you like question B?
Question A, please.
Question A it is. Panelists, lock in. Colonel Budget may be on vacation in Vegas, but he still hasn't figured out the whole strip club thing. Instead of tipping dollar bills, he asked if they accept blank. Colonel Budget may be on vacation in Vegas, but he still hasn't figured out the whole strip club thing. Instead of tipping dollar bills, he asked if they accept blank. I'm writing down my answer. It's written in. By the way, just as we mentioned this, all characters that you hear in match game questions are 100% and entirely fictional, and any resemblance to anybody living or dead is completely coincidental. Braden's writing. Annie is writing.
I got mine.
You got yours? Braden might be doing some drawing as
got
well.
one.
Okay, we are all set. Okay, Caesar, we bring the question back to you. Colonel Budget may be on vacation in Vegas, but he still hasn't figured out the whole strip club thing. Instead of tipping dollar bills, he asked if they accept
Food stamps?
food stamps. Sure. Colonel Budget is probably on food stamps.
That makes, Colonel, if you're on a budget.
Yeah, Colonel
Yeah.
Budget, you know. Of course,
Okay.
Colonel. Yeah, go ahead. What do you
I
got?
had sports scores because this non-fictional character is
A big sports fan.
your morning co-host, and
Oh.
he is a big sports fan, right?
Well, that's someone else. I mean, I wasn't thinking of that when I said Colonel Budget,
course
but I
you
I was thinking about
understand.
somebody else that wants to be in Vegas. I put athletic season tickets.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Nice.
And maybe I was a little bit more direct, but Caesar, my answer was Venmo.
Venmo.
Oh, okay.
Could you imagine?
We were all real off.
Yeah, could you just imagine? With Delilah. Those are excellent moves you have. Do you accept Venmo?
I could see that.
Cash App.
For sure.
PayPal. No, he
PayPal.
strikes me as a PayPal guy.
Right.
Probably a PayPal
Ben's
guy.
probably a PayPal
That's
guy.
Who?
Which is owned by Venmo.
Fictional character. Well, Caesar, no match there, but you'll get a second chance in round 2. John, you get question B. Are you ready, sir?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, panelists, erase your previous answers.
Lock in.
Time to lock in. Manager Mike was hot under the collar. It wasn't because his team lost. It's because somebody took his blank. Manager Mike was hot under the collar. Not because his team lost. It's because somebody took his blank. There's several ways you could go on this one.
Because his team lost.
All right, I got one. Panelists, let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
Annie's ready. Braden?
I'm ready.
Braden's ready. Okay. Answers are locked in. So, John, we come back to you and we get your answer. Manager Mike was hot under the collar. It wasn't because the team lost. It's because somebody took his...
I'm going to go with the playbook.
Took his playbook.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. Annie, what do you got?
Fortunately, not my answer. I put bubble gum.
Someone took his bubble
Someone
gum.
took his bubble gum.
That ticked me off, too. Braden?
I put his picture with his favorite mascot, Dinger.
Picture with Dinger. That's a very Braden answer.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Whenever
in
you're in
Colorado.
doubt, if you're looking for one
True.
match, consider Dinger as an
Consider
option.
mascots.
Yeah. John, I said somebody took his glasses.
Yeah.
Can't see a thing. Can't see a thing without those
Good answer.
glasses. All right. So through round 1, as is almost always the case on the match game, we are at a 0-0 tie.
We are.
This is usually what happens. We have a funny question, then we get down to business. All right, round 2. John, as contestant 2, you get the opportunity now to make the pick. Would you like question A or question B?
I'll take it. Question A.
Question A, it is. Here we go. Panelists, lock in. Oh, no, said the Falcons GM. You heard me wrong. I didn't say get Michael Penix. I said get me a blank. Oh, no, said the Falcons GM. You heard me wrong. I didn't say get Michael Penix. I said get me a blank. Got my answer.
Got my answer.
Got my answer.
We got our answers. Okay. John, let's see if we can find a match for you, friend. Oh, no, said the Falcons GM. I didn't say get Michael Penix. I said get me a...
Oh man, I'm gonna have to give up on that one. No answer.
No, give us an answer, John.
something.
Give us an answer.
Oh man,
I think you're thinking of something you don't want to say.
I'm not a football guy.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, John, because you go in Uber, I'm just going to submit for you. Get me an Uber. Okay, there you go.
Get me an Uber.
All right,
Okay,
what did you write?
Actually, I just rhymed. I thought Annie Lennox. Get me Annie
Get me
Lennox.
Annie Lennox.
She's a
I want the
singer.
latest singer. I want the
Right.
latest digital download of her top singles.
That's right.
All right. Braden
I
went
put-
with,
Give me a Kleenex.
give me a Kleenex.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I said,
Michael Penix Kleenex.
get me a pen.
Ah.
I just wanted a pen. I didn't want a Penix. I just wanted a pen.
Didn't.
Like, I just wanted to write down my pick for you.
course.
Next thing you know, we pick a quarterback.
That's right.
Life comes at you fast.
Adam Klug, that's what happened to you. So sorry. Okay, well,
Bummer.
here's the good news, Caesar. You just need one match, and you take this thing, and you run home with the win. So here it comes, question B. Panelists, lock in.
Locked in.
Locked in.
The swinging friar accidentally walked into a Krispy Kreme and the bakers glazed his blank. The swinging fryer accidentally walked into Krispy Kreme, and the bakers glazed his blank. All right, I got one.
Got it?
I got one too.
All right. Caesar, here's your chance to win, buddy. The swinging fryer accidentally walked into a Krispy Kreme, and the Blazers glazed his...
Bat?
bat.
All right.
Glazed his bat.
I have bald head.
His bald head.
That's what I put. I put his noggin, his head, noggin.
Oh, I put his nose. Thought it looked just like a delicious donut, his nose.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Well, here we have reached a 0-0 tie. And what that means is that we have to do one tiebreaker, and if neither one of you match, then you both win or lose, depending on how I feel. Okay.
Man.
Here we go. Caesar, these are going to be one word, and we're going to go quick. Caesar, we're going to write down our best match to this. Flying blank. Panelists, write down your best match to flying blank.
Good.
I got mine.
Got mine.
Okay. Caesar, flying what?
Eagle.
Flying eagle.
Flying saucer.
I put saucer.
I put saucer.
Hey, gosh.
John.
It's a good answer, though. A flying eagle is a good answer.
It is a good answer. John, here's your chance to tie break.
All right.
Circus blank. We're going to write down our answers. Circus blank. Drop my pen. Okay, I got mine. Got yours?
Got mine.
Got yours?
I'm good to go.
John, let's get a dub here, buddy. Circus what?
Circus.
Circus.
Wow. I have circus clown.
I put
Oh.
I put circus animal. Could have gone Bugs Life.
Circus animal.
Circus bugs. How could you be
Circus,
circus
circus.
bugs?
Caesar, pick a
Vegas.
number between 1 and 10.
The greatest circus bugs on the sun.
I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10, Caesar. Pick it.
This is brutal.
7. Brutal.
Okay, John, higher or lower?
Higher.
It was 4. It's lower. Caesar, you win. Congratulations.
Welcome.
You win the nobody matched game today on Match Game. Stay there. John, better luck next time, buddy. Hope everyone gives you 5 stars and 20% tips
Yes.
when you're out there today.
Be safe out there.
Hour number 3 is in the books.
All right.
Appreciate you. Just hang on right there. Oh, my God. When we come back, 4th hour of the show, John Pakota is joining us from Pods Above Replacement. We are going to reset all of our key Padre topics going into Padres and Phillies. You're listening on the Fan. Back with you for our fourth and final hour and our last hour of programming for the week. Annie and Elsten here with you. It's your midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. So's Braden Soprenet. My name's Craig Elsten, also still here. Ready for you for the next hour. Coming up at 2 o'clock, Gwen and Chris will check in with Matt Scraby. Then at 5:40 p.m., it's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. And at 6:40, Padres and Phillies coming up. First pitch from Petco Park. Looking forward to all of that right now. Excited to get back out to the 97.3 The Fan hotline. Welcome back to the program, a recurring guest and one who will continue to be a regular as we go through the year. He is the co-host of the very intelligent, very insightful Pods Above Replacement podcast, part of the Padres Hot Tub Network. And they've got a new episode coming out this weekend. In fact, he joins us from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado, where he makes his home. We won't hold it against him, even though the Rockies did take 2 out of 4. John Pakota is joining us once again on Annie and Elsten. John, Craig and Annie here. How you going?
I'm doing very well. How's it going?
It's going, mate. It's going. 14-14. We were joking about it before. It's kind of like a Rorschach test. Looking at this team, you can see in it almost anything you like. So what do you see so far through 28 games?
I see something that gives me hope, which is that this team has a different mindset than last year. It's not a team that has a bunch of confidence and gets beaten down. It's a team that's going to work to earn that confidence in the fan base, I think. And give me the hard worker over the talented person every time.
What did you take away from the series in Colorado?
I've been living here since 2019, so I've been through a lot of Colorado games, a lot of games at Coors. Since 2020, we've been a team that's been competitive, right, within the NL. We have played the Rockies 36 times at Coors Field. What would you guys guess our record is in those 36 games at Coors Field?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know. 15 wins.
Right on the dot.
Yeah, 15, yeah.
15-21. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been through it. It's just a house of horrors for us. I feel like the whole narrative would be completely different if we're a 3-game series and we would have escaped with a 2-1 record. 4-game series are commonly split. There's no excuses for having a 3 and a 4-run lead against a team with like 5-6 wins and losing 2 of those games. We're going to look back and say, oh, we should have had that. But hopefully, we got through a Coors series without at least losing it, which we've lost it a lot of times in the past. We're still hungry, I think. I think we'll regret it a little bit, but we're working our way. We're working our way through the season. It's 14-14. No scare yet.
Fair enough. Now, from the Padres' perspective, obviously yesterday was a big disappointment in the bullpen. But overall, what have you seen from Mike Schilt's relief corps so far this year?
It's been inconsistent, right? And you would kind of guess that based on the number of left-handed pitchers we have, that sometimes you're going to face some right-handed bats, and we have essentially one guy that's been consistently pretty good that is not a closer. So if you're in that 7th inning facing good right-handed hitters, we basically have Enyel De Los Santos, and that's it. So you would expect some inconsistency. It's kind of built into the team. That being said, I did want to talk about what could possibly be a solution that you guys talked about earlier in Jeremiah Estrada. I think I have some interesting takes on him if you would let me monologue for a second.
Feel free. It's the last hour of the show. You can monologue for a minute, mate. It's all good.
So Jeremiah Estrada, within like the Discord for Padres Hot Tub and just what I've seen online, a lot of people are saying, why isn't Jeremiah Estrada already up? Like, Jeremiah Estrada has such a good fastball. We need a right-handed pitcher. And to me, the answer is pretty obvious why he hasn't been called up yet. He had to prove that he could throw strikes. Last year, he had 38 2/3 innings between AAA and the majors. What would you guess how many walks he had?
24.
38 2/3 innings.
24.
Annie?
22.
Yeah, those are both a lot. He had 38 walks.
Oh, my God.
In 38. So, a whole year of just not being able to find the strike zone. He throws his off-speed pitch into the strike zone about 32% of the time, which is very, very low. So you have a guy that's not throwing strikes, and then he came up, he was on our opening day roster, he walked 2 in 1 inning. So he goes to the minors, and he's trying to work on throwing more strikes. And so I looked at his numbers, like his StatCast pitch numbers, and you would expect somebody who relies on one really good pitch, and that pitch being a fastball, to kind of struggle in AAA, because at elevation for us, El Paso, you don't get as much ride on your fastball. But Estrada has such a ridiculous fastball in terms of ride, probably the best fastball in terms of how much ride he gets per velocity over the past 2 years in Major League Baseball, that it still has enough ride even at elevation to be a good fastball. But over his last 3 appearances, so 4 innings and 3 appearances, he's been working on a brand new slider, which is something that I'm very excited about. So he throws a fastball that's about 97, 98 miles per hour, and he's for years now thrown a slider that's 83 miles an hour, super slow. The last 3 appearances, 4 innings, he's thrown an 89 mile an hour slider with less break that he can put in the zone, and in those 4 innings, he's had 9 Ks and 0 walks. So that's an exciting development. I think that he's proving that he can throw it in the strike zone. He might be up pretty soon.
Yeah, that's great to see. How do you view this bullpen as a whole right now in terms of just what they've been able to show so far, and I guess who would you replace him with?
So 13 games in 13 days. If it's me, I see how things develop. If we're not going to call him up tonight, then I would probably play through the series, see a time that we could kind of overuse a guy. So maybe use Costco for 2 consecutive innings, or use Brito for 4 consecutive innings. Use Morejon, any of the guys with options, kind of overuse them if you find a slot where you're either up a lot or down a lot, and then option that guy in order to bring up Estrada. Because we got to make it through the 13 games in 13 days, so you can't really just grab a guy proactively. You got to kind of wait till you need him.
We're talking with John Pakota, co-host of the Pods Above Replacement podcast here on Annie and Elsten. A new episode coming out this weekend. What are you guys going to be talking about this weekend?
We're going to be talking about, so I was just talking about Jeremiah Estrada's fastball, how ridiculous the shape on it is. We're going to be talking about at least 5, there's probably going to be some wild cards that we throw in there, of the new pitches for the Padres this year. So just like we're going to be talking about Waldron's knuckleball and how that's playing. We're going to be talking about Joe Musgrove's fastball and how it's kind of struggling this year. We're going to be talking about good pitches and bad pitches and why they're working well and why they're not working well.
So just to follow up on that, let's talk a little bit about Matt Waldron. I mean,
yes.
Here's a guy who is arguably the second most consistent starter for the team so far this season. What have you seen that you liked?
So Waldron Cauldron, I love Matt Waldron. I was excited before the start of this year just to see his knuckleball, but even I, who was like very optimistic, thought that it's kind of a novelty pitch that he was using, and we'll see whether he can make it through a lineup even 2 times. I thought that probably it would be best to start with like a 1-time through and see how it plays, but he's getting that knuckleball in the zone 50% of the time, which breaking balls in general are about 40% of the time. So he's throwing it in the zone, and what is the saying for knuckleballers? It's when it's high, let it fly. When it's low, let it go. Well, he's getting that in the zone and low in the zone consistently, and so he's been able to be very effective 2 times through the order. He has struggled the 3rd time through the order, but, take what you can get from your fifth starter. I've been very excited with him. I don't think it's just a novelty pitch. I think that it's going to be successful at least, for a 5th starter.
Hey, John, who's been a surprise player for you that maybe you didn't, maybe has exceeded expectations for you? Let's put it that way.
For me, it is. I mean, I think it's Matt Waldron. I thought he was a 1-time through guy. But besides Matt Waldron in terms of excitement, Suarez was kind of a wild card because we paid him so much. He's obviously very talented. But seeing his fastball play and then what he can do with his changeup, which has been always graded out as a very good pitch, and he hasn't even gotten to it yet. So, if he's been saving that, then he's, I would think, only going to be better. And we needed that so much, a guy that can get 4 outs if we need it. And without Hader, it was, if he did not work out or he got injured again, that would have been a very big deal for our pen as a whole. But he has been a solid player, and he will continue to be a solid player from everything that I've seen.
That's a great call. Yeah, we just at this point have just thrown Robert Suarez in that drawer of things we count on. Just like tossed him in there and just put him aside. But certainly 6 weeks ago, that wasn't a guarantee. John, looking at the offensive side for this club, they've been getting so much production out of the bottom of the order. Jackson Merrill has been better than expected. Luis Camposano, if you're a fan of him, maybe he's as good as you hoped he would be. What are you looking for this club to take the next step offensively?
Well, there was a Fangraphs article out that was fairly recently talking about the Padres' addition of Donovan Solano, and I personally am a huge Donovan. I think that he's a major league hitter, and you can never have too many qualified major league hitters. But what it said in terms of projections was that with the addition of Solano, and then if you just bump Merrill's projections up just a few points, then all of the 9 hitters in our regular everyday lineup are average or better hitters. And so that is such a huge difference from last year, wherein pitchers seemed to be willing to work around kind of the middle of our order in any scenario in which it was dangerous to kind of get to Austin Nola, who was struggling, Trent Grisham, who would strike out very commonly in those high leverage situations. Whoever was playing DH tended to not hit well, at least after April of last year. And so just that balance in their lineup, like if you're getting to the 7th, 8th spot and you still have to deal with Donovan Solano hitting 280, which he has over the past 5 years of his career, then all it takes is a bloop before them, and suddenly you have runners on the bases, maybe scoring a run or two.
Just one follow up to that. I'm sorry, Annie.
No, please.
Just one follow up, because the shape of this offense. You guys are always kind of looking under the hood for the team. The shape of this offense has changed so much. Fewer walks, fewer strikeouts, fewer homers for the San Diego Padres this year, and yet from a efficiency standpoint, from a straight up run scored standpoint, the team has been pretty much as good as last year's offense. Is this a product of design?
I think it's a process of understanding that we were undervaluing things in the past. I mean, on-base percentage is the king of all stats for almost every statistician. But if you're just getting on base one base at a time with no steals, no getting anybody over, then it takes 4 walks to score a run. And so it is important to put the ball in play, especially at the bottom of your order where you have guys that are maybe not the best hitters. But if you have somebody like Kim or Merrill hitting above the bottom of the order who can maybe steal a base in a clutch situation, and now all it takes is a single to score them rather than needing a home run at a Trent Grisham or whatever Nola was going to do. It makes it so that you have more malleability in your lineup and more options, and that optionality is very valuable in a baseball lineup, I think.
What are you going to be looking for as the Padres take on the Phillies?
Oh, man, I'm going to be looking for how we compete against really good pitchers because, especially tonight, Aaron Nola, we seem to play up to good pitchers. We seem to, make them work, and we don't take those, innings off as often against good pitchers so far this year. Sometimes it seems like when we don't have a good scouting report in, the middle innings against some, long reliever, then sometimes they'll just, take 3 or 4 innings that won't even notice have gone by and score no runs. But we're going to have a game plan tonight. We're going to have, this is like a playoff type scenario in which you know what you're getting and you're trying to execute, and that makes for good baseball. We'll see if we're able to execute. I'm going to be looking for the small things. If we can get a runner over and get them in against Nola in a clutch situation, that's going to be something to hope for on the rest of the season, right?
All right, John, before we let you go, how can everybody listen to and support or even watch on YouTube Pods Above Replacement? How can they keep in touch with what you're doing?
Well, that's the thing. YouTube is easy to find us, just Pods Above Replacement. We're also on all the podcast networks. You can go to whatever you listen to podcasts on and type in Pods Above Replacement. We'll be there, part of the Padres Hot Tub Network. So if you're on the Padres Hot Tub Network, you'll be able to find us. There's lots. Just type in Pods Above Replacement somewhere in that internet, and you'll be able to find us.
Thanks, John.
John Pakota, we'll chat with you in a couple weeks. Appreciate you, mate.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
John Pakota joining us right there. Some smart baseball for you on a Friday. wrapping up our Padres talk for today. Of course, Padres baseball at 6:40. When we come back, it's a regular Friday feature. I see her in the chat right now. Media Melanie will be joining us for Crossing Streams, and we'll get a chance to give you a streaming television recommendation or two heading into the weekend. Ask us anything to wrap up the show. And then Gwen and Chris at 2 o'clock. So stay right here. Annie and Elsten with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Padres, so be sure to catch us all season long, wherever the season may take you, using the Odyssey app. Listen to us react to the biggest moments from throughout the season. Plus, be sure to listen to live local play-by-play for every Padres game. Just download the Odyssey app today. Search 97.3 The Fan. Y'all can get started on that. Local blackouts do apply. So, got to be inside San Diego proper to hear the play-by-play. Otherwise, you're stuck on the MLB.com app. It's the way things go, but we are thrilled to be presenting that to you every day. Check out the Odyssey app. Okay, 1:24 is the time. It is time for our favorite way to wrap up the week. It's time for Crossing Streams. This is our weekly segment where we offer you some streaming television recommendations for the weekend that will be. Media Melanie has become an indispensable part of our Friday afternoons by becoming the regular on this segment, and she joins us right now on the 97.3 The Fan Hotline. Media Melanie, how you going?
Pretty good, Craig. I'm glad it's Friday, heading into a 6-day Padres work stand here, and hoping we get some W's. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, busy weekend for you working on set, right?
Yep, that's right. I'll be working the pre and post game for the next couple series.
Okay, all right. Well, I know. So that, it limits your time, and you know what? I got to be very, very straight up about it too, Media Melanie. This is a tough time if you're a sports fan to also be dipping your toe into a lot of streaming television. You got the NBA playoffs going on. You got the NHL playoffs going on. You got Padres baseball every single day. So it's tough to be out on those streets trying to pick up all the Emmy nominations and figure out all the best shows. But I always appreciate you. You're dedicated to the task. So what do you have for us this week?
Well, first, totally right on with the time thing. It's definitely been challenging, but I've never appreciated weekly drops more than during baseball season. I love binging, but the weekly drops are definitely better for the schedule. But that said, it has been a busy couple of weeks, so I am going back to the well for a show that I love on Paramount+. It's got 3 seasons under its belt, and the 4th and final one premieres on May 23rd. This is a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes show, so it's been very highly rated. It's called Evil. It's a psychological thriller horror series, and it centers on a trio of investigators who look into the Catholic Church's backlog of cases, which include demonic possessions and hauntings. They work together to determine if there's a logical explanation or not. This team is made up of a skeptical psychologist, a priest in training, and a contractor. The series really toes the line between science and religion, and I kind of like that we don't always get a succinct answer for every single case that they work. The cast is amazing. It includes Katya Herbers from Westworld and The Leftovers, Mike Coulter from Luke Cage, I love him, and Asif Manvi from The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. It's also got one of my favorites, Michael Emerson, who's from Lost, Person of Interest, and now in Fallout, which I recommended last week. He stars as the quintessential creepy dude, which he's so good at playing. And season 3 goes a little off the rails in a little bit of a fantasy direction, kind of reminiscent of the show Grimm, which I didn't watch, but one of my friends likened it to. But overall, the show is highly entertaining, it's dark, and it really does that great job of balancing logic, science, and the unknown. So I came with an assignment today, Craig. I want everybody, if you've not seen it, to start watching now, and that way you'll have plenty of time to get current for season 4. You can stream Evil on Paramount+, and when season 4 drops, it'll be weekly episodes, a total of 10 with 4 bonus episodes, which they approved to kind of wrap up the story in the way that they'd like to. The prior seasons each have 10 to 13 episodes, so it's very manageable to watch. And this is one of my favorites, so I hope you guys enjoy it.
All right, Evil. You're not the first person who's told me that they really like Evil, and I was talking to a devil just the other day. He said Evil is my favorite. No, I just realized how silly the sentence sounded as I was saying it. I've talked to a lot of people who like Evil. None of them are very good people, but the series, the show, Evil, I've heard a lot of people who like that show, Melanie. And what is it what's going to dig me in that first season, first couple of episodes, if I do follow you down this dark path?
I think a lot of it is, like I mentioned, this balance of the unknown and scientific logic. I really like the direction they go. So even if you're more on the logical side, they tell both sides of the story for each of these strange cases that they investigate. So it's very interesting, and just, that balance of science and supernatural and logic is really interesting to me. I just think they do that really well.
Outstanding. Evil. Okay. And you can see it on Paramount Plus. You can see it on Paramount Plus.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because of the current media diet that I'm enjoying, I don't have, for the second straight week, unfortunately, I don't have a news show for you, but I'm going to give you a great one from just a couple of years ago. If I was just telling you about shows I'm watching right now, I'd either say Big Brother Canada or Challenge All-Stars Season 4. So if you like reality competition, those are for you. And I'm trying to finish Shogun, and it might be the best show of the year. It might pass Ripley on my personal rankings. However, what I'm giving you this week is a show that came out toward the end of 2022. And I think a lot of things that come out at the ends of years often get just missed because you're into the holidays. There's so many things going on. You've probably already kind of almost budgeted your year of shows. And this one came out late in 2022. It was the last addition to my 2022 Top 20 rankings. And it's a show that still stays front of mind. And this is The English. Have you seen The English, Media Melanie?
I have not seen The English, Craig. I'm looking forward to hearing about it now, though.
Now I'm going to tell you about The English. The English is a 6-episode limited series that was a co-production of the BBC and Amazon Prime and is available to watch on Prime Video. It is a Western, but it is a Western told in a very, very different style. The creator of The English, the writer-director of The English is Hugo Blick. Hugo Blick has been involved in some great projects in the past, including The Honorable Woman, Black Earth Rising are two of his most recent in the last 10 years shows. He's actually been an actor as well as a writer-director. But Hugo Blick wrote The English. The English is a very non-American style Western. It is starring Emily Blunt. And Emily Blunt plays an English woman who travels from England to the American West in 1890. And she does so on a trip of revenge. She is looking for revenge on a man who believes was responsible for the death of her son. She comes out to the West and she runs into and meets Eli Whip. And Eli Whip is a Native American who worked and served in the cavalry for the Union in the Civil War. But he is leaving the army. He is on his way to try and claim land that he is owed. The two of them, through happenstance and circumstance, I should say, not happenstance, through circumstance, become intertwined and wind up sharing this quest in the desert. This show is so colorful, Melanie. It is so bright. It's Chasky Spencer, who plays Eli Whip, is an outstanding actor with an outstanding performance in this series. But this show has got a ton of flavor, of character. The very first episode is going to draw you in and hook you in with a perilous circumstance. Emily Blunt is going to find herself in trouble right away, as you might expect somebody with a doughty look and a lot of money that's just traveling on a carriage through the wild, wild west. Things are going to go sideways for her pretty quick. And I found this to just be a riveting watch. It's 6 episodes. It's got some fun psychological twists along the way. There's certainly a plot twist along the way that is fascinating when it breaks out. But The English, it's quirky. It's a little bit different. It's not a classical Western. It's a lot more of like, what would English people think about the American West and the things that happened there. So it shares a different perspective, but I think it's one of the better shows of the last few years.
I mean, you had me at limited series, quirky, and perilous circumstances, and I already like Emily Blunt. So with time being of the essence, this might be my next limited series watch, Craig.
I love it. Yes, one of these days, I'll be getting reports from you back on all of these just like I'll be reporting to you on all of these shows
Yes.
that we recommend to one another on Fridays. But I appreciate it. Evil on Paramount Plus for Media Melanie, and for myself, The English, which you can find on Amazon's Prime Video. Media Melanie, how can everyone keep up with what you're doing?
You can follow me at Media Melanie on all the social profiles. And thanks again for having me. I'll talk to you guys next Friday.
Absolutely. Have a tremendous weekend. Good luck with the pods throughout the homestand, and we'll chat with you next Friday. Media Melanie joining us here on Annie and Elsten. Annie is taken off. She is heading down to the clubhouse to get in there, get some Padres dirt, some info that she can share with us on Monday's show. We very much look forward to that. But what's going to happen when we come back? So Braden and I are going to open up the phones for Ask Us Anything.
We got Padres tickets to go away, too, right now.
Oh. Ooh, thank you. Thank you,
welcome.
Producer Braden.
You're welcome.
Let's do it. We have a pair of tickets to Monday's game against the Cincinnati Reds to give away. What's interesting about Monday's game? It's Padres knit beanie with removable pom-pom night. First 40,000 fans will receive a Padres knit beanie with a removable pom. Go to padres.com/tickets to get tickets, or better yet, be the third caller, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Be the third caller. You'll win a pair of tickets. If you don't win, just stay right there and ask us a question on the other side of the break on Ask Us Anything. It's Braden and Craig here on Annie and Elsten, wrapping things up. Our final segment next. Gwen and Chris at the top of the hour on The Fan. 142 on the Fan. We're wrapping things up here. Annie and Elsten on a Friday. As you know, Braden, I like to do this at the end of every week. Last segment of the week. I want to bring some gratitude to the airwaves. We're really lucky. We're absolutely lucky. We are lucky and blessed to be able to do this job, to be on this station. This great station has incredible management, has great people at the top that set the tone, and it's a privilege. I say it a lot. It's a privilege. I say it, and sometimes I say it better than others. It's a pleasure and a privilege.
Last segment on a Friday.
It really is. It really, truly is. But it is. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege to be here. We don't take it lightly. I know that when you start a new show, a lot of times there's plenty of folks who aren't happy to hear you. And we've experienced a number of those over the weeks. In the early weeks, there were plenty of people telling us to get out of Dodge. And, we got we're not here to just self-promote, but we've had our first set of books. Things have gone really, really well here for the Annie and Elsten show. Things have gone really, really well. Frankly, better than I could have anticipated for the first 3 months of the show. And the reason for that is because we've got an incredibly cool audience. We've got people who have found this show. It takes a few weeks when you're a new program. There's some folks who are not going to want to listen to you that used to listen to the time slot. There's other people who would never listen to the time slot previously, who needed to come and find the program and to listen. And also, hey, first 3 months, I guarantee you, I don't know how many years it'll be down the road, that Annie and Braden and I will look at one another and go, do you remember those first 3 months of Annie and Elsten? Those were the worst 3 months in the history of the show. Go ask Ben and Woods about their first 2 years as a show. And they're like, oh, God, I hope you didn't listen then. So I fully recognize that. The first 3 months of the show, Braden and I had never met each other until a couple of weeks before the show started. Annie and I have worked in the same market. How many times were we in the same room other than both holding a microphone asking questions? It's not overnight that you generate chemistry as a radio program. We're all getting to know one another, all getting to know what makes each other laugh, finding that repartee on the air. And through that, we had a ton of success in the first 3 months. So thank you. Thank you to everyone who has supported this show. Thank you to everyone who continues to support this show. Thank you to the people who are turning their friends on to the show. All of you are allowing us to have an incredibly successful start to 2024. We don't take it for granted. We won't take it lightly. And we will turn up Monday and every day endeavoring to put a funny show on the air, to put a show that's informative and interesting, a show that covers all of our local teams. We do that. That's our remit. That's what we're trying to do with you guys every day. And we appreciate it. We appreciate you hanging through the lumps as an early show finds its rhythm. And we appreciate each one of you for your daily support. With that note of gratitude, let's get to some questions. Here we go. You have 6 minutes to call the show, 833-288-0973. For some reason, my phone screening wall is just dead as a doorknob. So, Braden, you are master and commander of this segment. I can't even call anybody up. As far as I know, no one's there. So
we got a lot of people still trying to win Padres tickets. Ron in San Diego won them.
Nice. Congratulations, Ron. You're going to the game on Monday. Get a beanie, remove the palm, or add the palm.
I like the palm.
I have removed the palm from mine. I went no palm.
No palm.
No palm.
I like both.
Yeah,
it's the benefit of mixing it up. You can untie it, tie it back up. It's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be honest with you.
So if you want to give us a buzz, 833-288-0973 is the number. Just call now. We'll put you on hold. We'll pop you up. Let us know if someone there is there, Braden. Brandon in the chat asks, any plans for the weekend? What do you got going this weekend?
I'll be at USD all weekend for Toreros and Bulldogs. big series for the Toreros. Trying to take 2 out of 3 is obviously the main goal, but based on RPI, they might have to sweep, but we'll see. They're a good baseball team, so is Gonzaga. Should be a fun one at Fowler Park all weekend. I'm
going to the Padres game tonight, which means I'm going to Bottle Rocket this afternoon.
Nice.
Absolutely. Cannot wait. James is going camping, so I couldn't bring the kid and the wife to the game, so heading there with Dane from our Padres Hot Tub Discord. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Musgrove v. Nola. And then tomorrow night, San Diego Wave FC. I'm on the PA at Snapdragon Stadium doing the public address for Wave FC versus Bay FC and Maria Sanchez's debut with the Wave. So those are my plans. All right, cool. 833-288-0973. Shout out to Anthony in the chat. Anthony has been every Friday in our chat recommending Scavenger's Reign on Max. I'm glad you're there, Anthony. I just want to let you know last night I started it. I wasn't going to just watch 15 minutes and then recommend it on the air, but maybe next week. So looking forward to that. All right. The Delve Deck always has an answer for us, my friend, in the final 6 minutes of the show.
Delve Deck it is.
What's your least favorite thing about where you live?
Least favorite thing about where I live? It's interesting. It's expensive, probably.
Yeah.
If it wasn't so expensive, it'd be a great place to live, but that's why it's expensive, because so many people want to live here. It's a great place to live. I think in not having, like, all sports teams, too, is also that's lame.
Yeah.
For a sports guy that I am. It'd be nice to have all the big four, you know?
Least favorite thing about San Diego County? Honestly, it's just, I think you're there. I think it's just got to be the price. Price of gas. Let's go with the price of gas.
Price of a lot of things, right? I mean, but if it's not the worst thing. I mean, it's a great place to live, great weather, great community, all that stuff. Just a little expensive. Sunshine tax.
Anthony in the chat asks, if you had to live in another city, where would you live?
There's a couple cities I like. I like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, obviously. I've already lived there before. I could totally live in Nashville, Tennessee. I think that'd be a cool place to live. I wouldn't mind living in New York for like a year to experience all the great food and all the different stuff that has. I always love visiting New York and Boston. So there's a couple cities on my list.
I'd move back to Long Beach. And if I had to move out of the state, I just can't imagine living outside California.
Have you lived in California your entire life?
My entire life.
Yeah, see, that's tough for people. Like, my dad's never lived anywhere aside from San Diego or California in general. It's a different ask, because you have to deal with weather in other months.
Yeah. I mean, if I had Austin, maybe.
Austin's a lot like California in general.
Yeah, it is. It's very much like California. Perth, Western Australia, exactly like San Diego.
Yeah, Perth and Sydney, right? It's like the same longitude.
Yeah, but
away
Perth
from the
is
equator.
Perth is all the way on the west. Sydney's all the way on the east.
Right.
But it's got the exact same climate and vibe and palm trees of San Diego. It's just you put your toes in the Indian Ocean instead of the Pacific Ocean. So,
correct.
You know, one or the other. Brandon says Nashville sounds great. Yep, I agree.
Nashville's great. I mean, all those places, like in the wintertime, it's not that ideal, but it's not as cold as living in the Northeast or somewhere that gets a ton of snow.
I visited Louisville and thought it was a nice college town.
Louisville.
But I don't know if I could swallow those vowels.
Where are you from? Where are you living? I live in Louisville. I'm sorry. Zoom tight.
What feels like therapy to you but isn't therapy?
Like where you could feel calm and stuff?
Yeah, what's therapeutic for you but isn't therapy?
Coaching football. As crazy as that sounds. There's something about like being able to leave everything that happened at work or in your life and go out there and just focus on coaching ball and coaching the youth of America and getting everybody ready for the next level and all that fun stuff. I find coaching therapeutic, even though it does raise my blood pressure once in a while.
Great answer from Nate Taylor in the chat. Whiskey. I mean, sometimes it feels like therapy.
Right?
Depends on how thick you pour that
right.
pour, my friend. Might be recency bias, but I mean, this is an honest answer. Doing this show is therapy from a sports standpoint. Like, I can't take a loss the way that I would even a year ago, because we've got to come in here and discuss it and hash it out and figure it out. So doing that makes me so much calmer as a fan, and it gets me so much more ready for the night that will be. So hopefully some of this is therapeutic for you as well. But for me, just doing the show itself, it's a creative endeavor. It's a social endeavor every single day, and also it's an analytical endeavor. So I like that. Okay, last one. What do you think would be on the menu at the only restaurant in hell?
What would be on the menu at the only restaurant in hell?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Grilled chicken breast? Bland grilled chicken breast?
Jalapeno poppers have to be on the menu in hell.
Those are pretty good, though.
I mean, yeah, but that's all you get.
Jalapeno poppers.
Would you like the cream cheese? It's a jalapeno popper cream cheese. Would you like the
everything's jalapeno?
Would you like the pie? It's a jalapeno popper pie. Would you like the steak? It's covered in jalapeno
I
poppers.
feel like as much as you would make it sound like everything's spicy, I feel like everything would be bland down there. Right?
Yeah. Shepherd's pie, says Nate Tail. Olive, says San Diego Schilt.
Olives are nasty.
Yeah, you know what?
Not a big olive guy.
I agree. I'll eat the olives on the King Arthur's pizza when we get it on Thursdays, but I have decided over the course of 51 years that the only way I will eat olives is cooked on a pizza. And even then, I'll usually pick them off.
Yeah, I'm not a big... My dad likes black olives on pizza. Can't do it. I hate mushrooms on pizza, too.
The worst for me is black olives in a salad.
Yeah, I don't need them in a salad.
People put black olives in a salad. I pick black olives out of a salad.
I see that popular in like taco salads.
Brandon says, does pineapple go on pizza? It's a simple answer. The answer is no.
No, get your pineapple off my pizza.
Yes. And with that, a Friday Ask Us Anything is in the books. It's been a great week of radio. Thank you all for being a part of it. Annie will be back along with Brayden and myself on Monday. This has been Annie and Elsten and the Fan. Let's go Padres.